Hello and welcome to episode 513 of the Awesome Comics Podcast, a place where the small press makes one hell of a big noise. My name is Vince Hunt, and joining me as always is the artist, writer and all-round good egg behind the epic webcomic series Vanguard, Dan Butcher.
Hello.
And I have to ask him, Dan, if he's a little bit weaker because Tony Esmond's had his hair cut.
Yes.
Are you feeling weaker? My dear
might be the
Samson.
shortest I've ever had it. I think maybe the shortest I've ever had it.
It's pretty short, yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty short.
Yeah.
Down here, it's still like a German Shepherd in my lap.
Oh, it's just like
classic.
Yeah.
It's a bit
looks like
jungly.
Weird Al Yankovic down there.
Hey, you can't run a comb through it, mate. I tell you now.
Oh, looks like an angry bonfire. Welcome to the show, everyone. We are here to talk comics, as always. I don't know why I do this. A little behind the scenes. This is obviously an audio medium. We record it via Zoom, being the hipsters that we are these days. And I'm staring into the camera. We don't need to look at each other, do we, when we record this?
We like it though.
But it's. I mean, when we talk to the guests.
You get a bit of a read on people when it's just rather than just voices.
Yeah.
We're humans after all. I'm just a man.
I'm just a normal man.
I have been using Bye Bye Bus Driver on every fucking Teams call this week.
Brilliant.
Made by Dan. Bye Bye Bus Driver.
And what a show we've got for you this week. Trust me, it does get better. And I tell you what, if you
get
like,
worse.
If you, it's true. It's been 500 episodes. It's got to get better at some point. No, if you like superheroes, which, as you know, or superhero flavoured universes and comics, and you know we do. I mean, because we've read them, written them. Dan's got an ongoing book that he's been doing for years. Especially
talk shit about them.
We talk shit about them a lot.
Yeah. Hate love them.
But you may be aware of, or maybe you're not, and shame on you. This is, and it's certainly something that I was late to the party, but a little book that's become more than just a little book, Radiant Black from Image, which has been creating a bit of a storm and creating a bit of a universe. So this week,
massive verse, isn't it?
Massive verse, and we have the writer and creator Kyle Higgins to join us this week to talk about all things superheroes. Can't wait. We like getting into them. We usually talk about like the minutiae of like why indie superheroes don't work, but when they do work, it can be great. Absolute great fun.
Yeah.
So, we're going to get into all of that shortly and looking forward to that. We've got plenty of shouts and maybe just a
quick guest.
A little bit extra for you. A little bit of spice. I don't know why I'm talking. I'll tell you why. It's because I've been making fajitas
nice.
today. I don't know why you're laughing, Tony. Don't you like flavour in your food?
I do. I had the curry house down the road started doing that. What's the really stupidly hot curry?
Why do you do that? Why do you do
fowl? They've started doing a fowl down the road.
Why do you do that to yourself?
Geezer, aren't I? Geezer. And I had one on Friday night, and it's still fucking emptying itself out of me at the moment.
My God.
Oof.
My Christ.
This sweet baby Jesus.
Still don't feel right.
We have. I tell you what.
I'll have another one next week.
I tell you what.
Having a rectal exorcism.
It's a good look, guys. Come on, we're here to talk about comics. Thank God this show isn't like a pay for thing, because who would pay for this?
No.
King Kong's thumb.
I mean, essentially, I pay every week whenever I just ask a very innocuous question.
Yeah,
you'll pay.
Yeah, and it's like a bloody shrapnel grenade goes off in my face every time.
That's the fajita segue, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was just talking about flavourful food, and that's what that gets me. So, Tony, you look like you're about to say something, but I'm gonna stop you there because I'm scared. I'm scared. You're like a loaded gun.
Have a foul. Next time you come around here, we'll go for one.
No. Well, I mean, we can go for a curry, but I'm not going to have that. We'll have too many comics to talk about. Speaking of which, I'll tell you what. Never mind all this nonsense. We've got loads of comics to talk about at the end of the show as well. So, should we talk about some indie superheroes? Dan, I know you like indie superheroes, don't you?
Love them.
Well, check this out then. Right then, guys. Have any of you heard it out there? And we know a lot of our listeners, much like us, are superhero fans, etc. Have you heard of the Massive Verse? If you're not sure, then you'll certainly have seen titles like Radiant Black, Rogue Sun, Cowl, and many more in your local comic book store. I know I was aware of those titles way before even reading them. And they're all part of this awesome creator-owned superhero universe, which has gone from strength to strength since first hitting the shelves, and branching out even further into different media projects, which we're also going to talk about in a second. And there's been so much that they've kicked off a rebuild era, which is an interesting turn of phrase that we're going to talk about as well. Built for jumping on points for new readers. So with that in mind, we want to talk more with one of the head honchos steering the ship. Welcome to the show, Mr. Kyle Higgins.
How's it going, guys? Thanks so much for having me.
Good to have you on, man.
That was one of my longer intros, and to be honest, it was one of the longer sort of lists of comics that we've had. Because
I was going to say that was still so efficient. You could write comics like that was not too much text to fill a page at all. We could do that in 5-word balloons, my friend.
I mean, it just says splash page, splash page, splash page underneath.
No. You got to go Kirkman Invincible double page spread of the giant Head and Shoulders with like 8 balloons. I loved it when he would do that. Like it's such a weird choice, weird in the best possible way, and he always picked really cool moments to do it for. Anyway,
we're going to play probably play some influence bingo. So he was going to be my first one later on. But,
I love it. I love that. I've never played influence bingo, but I can do that.
Now, obviously, I mean, you brought up Invincible. That is obviously one of the big sort of indie superhero titles. I mean, we're always fascinated by. Everyone knows the big company superheroes that are everywhere in media. But to do what you guys are doing, and obviously it's you and Murderer's Row of fantastic creators. Feel free to name them as we go along, of course. It's one thing to have the idea, I want to create a creator-owned independent superhero universe. I'm sure there's a lot of listeners... am I not right, guys? That have had this idea and it's gone nowhere.
Well, the thing is, you think of it and you think, well, I'm never going to better Marvel and DC. It's almost like they're the big boys, aren't they? So people shy away from it sometimes, I think.
But to get to a point where you can like get to the part of the marketing where it's like, we're going to do we're on the next stage of it, the rebuild era. Which is fascinating because when you see you immediately think reboot, but this isn't that. So, and Radiant Black, of course, such a epic, fantastic book in so many ways. But
thank you.
Tell us a little bit about what this sort of the Massive verse is, and what the rebuild era entails for it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so for those who don't know or don't know who I am or are not familiar with my work, I've written comics for a long time. I started at Marvel and DC. Most notably, I wrote the New 52 Nightwing series, I think like 30 issues of that. I didn't write the last issue because of politics, but that's a different conversation that requires more beverages. Makes sense to get into. And beverages that aren't seltzer water, but no. So I wrote the Nightwing series for the New 52. I wrote Deathstroke. I wrote a miniseries with Scott Snyder called Gates of Gotham that became pretty kind of influential within the history of Gotham and within the New 52 era of the Batman books. I did a few years doing Batman Beyond. And then I've always done creator-owned books at Image. I love creator-owned stuff. That's kind of like... I never really wanted to write comics. I've loved comics my whole life, but I made a film in college that was a big superhero noir, live action film, and it almost killed me because it's a half-hour long, shot entirely on 16mm film, tons of visual effects, tons of wire work, costumes. Called The League, yeah. So it's about a superhero labor union in 1960 Chicago, and then that opened doors for me both as a filmmaker coming right out of film school in like 2008. As well as Marvel Comics. And Marvel, the opportunities were there to pitch, and that felt like I'd be dumb to say no to that. So I don't know where this is going to go. I don't even know if I can do this, but I ended up pitching to Marvel for about a year and a half before I landed a Captain America one-shot, and then it just kind of built from there. But I've always come back to creator-owned work So the first book I did in Image was called Cowl, which is based on my college film, The League. And we did that. We did 11 issues of that. This is actually 10-year anniversary right now. It came out.
Oh, wow.
The
Has
first
it really
two
been that long? Because I remember seeing the cover of that, the very striking cover for that.
I bought that first trade for my son when it came out. Yeah, he loved it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, you guys should be on the lookout for... Hold on, let me show you this.
Okay.
Oh, we're going to have to describe this. That's what I love about video shows. We get to see all
It
this.
ran off quite quickly there, didn't it?
Yeah. Do you reckon he's just got like loads of...
He's just gone from the pub. Oh, he's back. There he is.
Oh, I wish. So we're doing...
nice.
We're doing new printings of volumes 1 and 2. And volume 1 in particular has a bunch of updated art that Rod Reese did. There were like 6 pages in the original that he didn't draw for schedule reasons. So he went back 10 years later and did them himself. So now the whole book is drawn by Rod.
Okay.
And we're doing a mini series that right now 3 of the 4 issues are out, and the 4th issue is going to be quite a while, unfortunately. Just there's some behind the scenes scheduling and timing stuff, and Rod's got some other work that he was already contracted for. But we will be wrapping it up as soon as we can here. But anyway, so we did that book, and then I did a book called Hadrian's Wall and a book called The Dead Hand, and these are all creator-owned books at Image. But while those were going on, I wanted to still keep a foot in the direct market of like big kind of mainstream superhero stuff. And it just so happened coming out of DC that Power Rangers was a license that Boom Studios actually acquired. And
that's your bag, innit? You love that, don't you? And you as soon as you heard that came out, didn't you pitch for it? Is that right?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I've told the story a bunch, so I'll tell a abridged version. But basically, the managing editor, who is now he's either vice president or president of, I think, all of Boom, Bryce Carlson. Bryce and I went to college together at Chapman, it's a film school. And
he was a comic writer. When I remember reading some of his noir stuff.
He's a very good writer. Yeah, he was a screenwriting major at Chapman, and he has done books since working at Boom as an editorial for all these years. He of course blanking on I can't remember either. There's a book he did with Vanessa Del Rey that's amazing that I'm blanking on the name.
Yeah, I met him in New York there. I've got my copy signed by them and I can't remember it. But yeah, we'll carry on. Yeah.
Well, so Bryce and I, when I was doing Nightwing in like 2011, 2012, somewhere in there, he and I were talking over like Google Chat, and I remember telling him at one point, I was like, you know what you guys should do? You guys should go get the license to Power Rangers. Like, and I just I don't know, I could just kind of see it as I was pitching him this, there's never been anything Power Rangers that has been free of kind of the budget limitations of the original show or other circumstances surrounding making the show limiting what you're able to really do. And I was like, in comics, we could build out like a modern X-Men or Teen Titans, like really cool team superhero book, and really work to showcase and take advantage all the potential of the concepts of Power Rangers. And he was like, it's so funny you say that. He's like, we've literally been talking about that license. I was like, really? He said, yeah. And then nothing really came of it. I want to say about 5 months later or so, I saw an announcement that Paper Cuts had acquired the license. And so I was like, oh, well, I guess I don't even know if that Boom pitched for it, but I kind of forgot about it at that point. And then, in July of 2015, right before San Diego Comic Con, Boom announced that they had acquired the license, and they ran those promo images of that Goni Montes did that became pretty iconic covers with the helmets where they're holding.
Yes,
I know. Yeah.
Torso shot, neck down each helmet. They look like shiny new cars, and I saw it I was walking on the sidewalk in LA and I saw it on Newsarama, and I stopped in my tracks, and I was like, this is it. This is exactly what the book should. They get it, And so I reached out to Bryce and I was like, who do I got to kill to pitch for a backup story? Hopefully not you. You're the only one I know over there. And he got back to me after San Diego and was like, it's funny. He's like, your name keeps coming up for this. I was like, well, we were talking about it years ago. He's like, I know, that's why. He said, we don't have a main writer yet. And so we wanted to see if you'd want to pitch for it. And so I had a window before going to make a new short film that I was going to direct big short film. I had like a 2-week window. I was like, all right, let me work up a take and see if there's anything there. And that ultimately is what we ended up doing for the book. And coming off of 3 years of Power Rangers, then, I was still doing stuff on the creator-owned side. I got hired to do a feature for Hadrian's Wall that I was writing and directing. It didn't work out. But basically, I kind of like stepped away and was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do next. And I'd had this concept for like a post-tech, post-dystopian kind of take on the world, however many hundreds of years in the future. And it was going to be like a Mad Max world with like Blade Runner type, fiefdom cities, and you were like had to hire a coyote to get you in between places and stuff. And that guy, it's going to turn out, had this long history and was like the son of a despot who like had tried to save the world along with 3 others, and there were these like miniature black holes that allowed for like cosmic kind of transformation. It was called Radiant Black, and it's very, very different from what the book became. But that coupled with something else I was pitching at DC that I didn't even end up pitching, but I worked up a take for. It involved my idea was like this late 20s-year-old kid getting laid off from Wayne Enterprises on page 1 and moving back in with his parents in the Gotham suburbs, And so I was kind of exploring those 2 different things. And then right after New York Comic Con in 2019, Eric Stevenson, who's the publisher of Image, reached out to me, and we were texting about something. And he said, have I ever asked you about, if you'd be interested in building an original superhero? And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he goes, well, he's like, not like a Batman or a Superman analog or anything like that, but like something like contemporary, something like right now. Like think of it as optimistic sci-fi, if that's easier to like get your head around. And I was like, oh man, I would kill to do something like that, but I figured there's no market for it. And he walked me through why he thought there could be. And he also told me if there are any other creators who I thought would be a fit for something like this, like to let them know. He was trying to like put an emphasis on doing more like Image superhero universe stuff. And so my first call was to Ryan Parrott. And then he pitched me what became Rogue Sun like 3 days later. Right. And my second call was to Matt Groom, who was already doing Inferno Girl Red. I was the editor on it. We were trying to find an artist, and it was we've been working on it for like a year and a half. And we finally landed Erica D'Urso, who's in the same kind of style fit as what Radiant Black ended up looking like and Rogue Sun ended up looking like. And so
there's a real unity
I said
to
Eric
this universe, actually. Like that visual unity that is... It's kind of surprising to hear how this came about, because it feels naturally like it all...
See, I kind of feel like you're hiding the main story there a little bit, Kyle, in that this is autobiographical. Or is in a way, because it happens in your hometown, which is you're from Lockport, aren't you? Is that right? Is it Lockport?
Right. Yeah. Homer Glen, but I went to high school in Lockport. Yeah.
Right. Okay. It's about someone who is, identifiable, similar to you. At least one of the guys is. I've heard you speak on a podcast about you came away from something with some debt. I'm guessing some sort of student debt as well. He's got some. Is it 30? It's 34 grandios. Is that right? I'm fairly sure.
40. It's like 40.
Okay. Yeah. Is it?
Do you have superpowers?
A little bit you. Yeah.
Do you have superpowers?
I wish, because I've had 6 knee surgeries in 6 years, so I'm doing something wrong if I have superpowers. No, I describe it as the book's not autobiographical. There's a lot of me in the book though.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because of the conversation with Eric, where, I jumped ahead a little bit and I said I called Ryan and I called Matt, and we're right. But before that, when Eric and I were still talking about it, I have the Radiant Black thing that was just going to be the 6-issue, like dystopian post-apocalypse, whatever. I was like, but I really like the iconography and the name. What if I do it straight? Like, what if I do it right now? And there are all these things that I'd been, I'm going to be 40 this year. So I started building Radiant Black. I was 34, about to be 35, I want to say. And then obviously COVID and all of us going through that, situation. I felt like I'd been doing this long enough to be able to recognize when something, when there was a lot of meat on a bone. for lack of a better analogy. And I felt like doing something that felt right now, exploring some of these problems of like my generation. Like I've been in LA for 20 years. Like I've had friends leave and move back in with their parents. I went through a bad breakup 10 years ago, and I didn't move back in with my parents, but I went to Europe for a bunch of weeks, and I went back through Chicago, and I ended up staying for like 3 months because I never got to know my parents as an adult. I left when I was 20, and suddenly I was, 31, and it was like, I have nowhere I have to be, and I get to spend all this time with them now. And so there's a bunch of that kind of stuff emotionally that I'm pulling from. But it's also me writing about like all the stuff I'm really afraid of, whether it be as a writer or just fears of kind of our generation and life and everything else, and unfulfilled dreams, and realizing like that whole American dream is such a load of shit, and it's a bill of goods, and we're the last generation to kind of really buy into that, and just the idea that like, I think Eric told me that Robert likes to say, or used to like to say, you can't pick your hits, which is totally true. But I felt like I'm at least going to put myself in a position with this book where if it does work, it's something that we can grow with and not resent if we have to keep writing it for 10 years.
Yeah.
And so by designing it in a way that it could grow and change and evolve as we do, felt like, okay, this is the time to take those little autobiographical components that I don't really do in my other work. And it felt like if there was ever a time to kind of anchor around that, this is the time to do it. And then aesthetically, coming off of Power Rangers, and I was starting Ultraman for Marvel, it made sense that there's a tokusatsu aesthetic influence. But even beyond that, I'd really fallen in love with the genre. And I just felt like if you're going to do anything that felt right now, superhero wise, there's both the practicalness of creating a history with retailers. Oh, he did Power Rangers, he did Ultraman. Oh, now here's the creator-owned version that kind of looks in the same ballpark, right? But then also like thematically, the idea of exploring credit card debt and failed, potential and unfulfilled dreams through the aesthetic lens of our childhood. It felt like a very fitting juxtaposition.
Yeah. And you're also hiding the lead that he's also a screenwriter, or he's also a writer, rather, isn't he?
He's a writer.
Yeah. So
he's a novelist.
Novelist, rather.
Which is something I have zero interest in and cannot do. So
to be fair, for most of the comic, neither can he.
You
know what I mean?
But I think all of that brings in like the tone of voice, which is something about this series, and I know me and the guys have discussed this like as we were reading it. When it comes to a lot, especially superhero things, universes, tone of voice is so important, especially if you're establishing something new and you've got to get to know these characters, and 90% of the time it misses its mark, because like it feels like the people that you're meeting who you've got to get to care about, there's no relation that, it's like, oh, I'm supposed to care about these people, but they're not speaking like real people. There's no relationships that feel like real people. They just feel like photocopies of people in some ways. Whereas like Radiant Black immediately starts, and there's a definite tone of voice that like you attach yourself to. Like it doesn't jump, it doesn't start with an enormous explosion in a radioactive factory, for instance. It starts with someone looking how much debt they've got.
Well, I agree, mate, completely. And I think if you allow me just to jump in there, because what Vince has said there is right, is you build a cast. And for me, this is a book about the friendship between the two main guys. Yes. That's always what it's about. And I almost feel like my favourite moment of the whole book, or the whole series, comes in the first few issues, where he saves that family because they're trying to get somewhere and they've broken down. And I almost feel like you kind of, there's such a lovely purity to that somewhere. In this, he's just doing that, and it's what I refer to as the Superman moment, because you don't see that often elsewhere in superhero comics these days.
No,
they don't help cats out of trees. They don't help families who are broken down. And the reason I say Superman is, one, he's one of the influences. I've got an influence bingo for you, and two, it says on your Wikipedia page, which I know isn't always right, that you worked with Richard.
I know where
Donner.
This is going.
Yeah, you worked with Richard. Is that true or not?
I don't actually know. if I can get this off the mount. I actually don't know what you're talking about whatsoever.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, Superman the movie poster just fine.
And that is absolutely not a framed one sheet that was in Tom Mankiewicz's closet for 30 years for Superman.
Wow.
That after Tom died in 2010, I reached back out to Dick and asked if he'd sign it for me because I never asked Tom to. And Dick wrote to Kyle, hope to sign your DGA card, Richard Dick.
Oh, nice.
Oh, amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Good stuff. Because Jeff Johns also worked with him, didn't he? I'm guessing slightly before you. And there's that quality to his work sometimes as well, that, like you say, optimistic hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, in amongst the epic, we get the quite personal, which I think there's people think that everyone has to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man to understand
Or
the
grim and
people.
gritty. Yeah.
I think there's a few things going on there. I think first of all, Dick was really, really big on verisimilitude and the idea of take it seriously and treat it seriously, and that's how you're going to get audiences to do the same. And certainly, we are so far beyond the era that the first Superman film was made in, both as storytellers, but also as audience members and consumers of superhero media. Matt Groom and I were talking about this when we were getting ready to launch Radiant Black. And I was also working on this Darkhawk mini for Marvel. I think that's actually where what the conversation was originally about, but it applies to Radiant Black where, he pointed out, it was so smart. He goes, I think the most unrealistic thing in this day and age about introducing a new superhero into the world would be the idea that anyone in the world doesn't know what a superhero is. We are so inundated with them as a culture. It's such a pop culture thing. But also it's that, have you heard that famous, I think it's famous, the Mel Brooks quote about doing Blazing Saddles, where it's some version of when I come to your genre, it's dead. The idea that you can't do a parody unless you have the years of shorthand created with
people
audiences.
are prepared to have the piss taken out of it as well, almost.
You can't subvert something that you don't understand what it started as.
And you can't subvert something that people
movie.
are like, people really have in their hearts at that time, which is why the Western.
Sorry, say that again?
But you can't subvert something that people really have in their hearts at the time. So we can go and subvert the Avengers movies now because people are literally a bit behind. It's a bit behind them, aren't they? But you couldn't have done it post, I don't know, Endgame or in the middle when Endgame was coming out. It'd be a difficult thing to do. Because
no, I think you could have. I think you could have. I think
Okay.
it's a saturation point. I think it's less about intent and less about sincerity. And in this instance, I think it's actually more just a case of saturation. Like gun to your head, most people who have seen a Marvel movie could probably walk you through what the origins of a superhero story look like just from just common beats that they'll throw out. You can't do Blazing Saddles unless you have 40 years of Westerns and the language, the visual language, but also the storytelling language for audiences to understand. It's Chris Rock talking about why he repeats his premise when he's telling a joke. He says it over and over and over because if it's become a cadence thing and a style thing for him, but the principle of it is because he firmly believes that if the audience doesn't understand the setup, they will not laugh at a punchline. So you have to make sure that you are hitting them over the head, in the case of Chris Rock, with that setup so that the ending will land.
It'll be on the nose.
And I think, sure, but I think in this case, there's a level of self-awareness in the book that is a bit meta, but it's also done in a way where it allows me and all the collaborators, creatives on this book, it allows us to be sincere. So in my opinion, I don't want to undercut everything. You see some writers, every time they introduce a new villain, the character makes fun of, the superhero makes fun of the villain's name or fun of the costume or this or that. And there's some fun jokes in that. Like Bendis did that for a lot of Ultimate Spider-Man, and it's great, right? But if you're not careful, you end up telegraphing to readers that the stakes don't really matter. Because if you just undercut every single threat and every villain that you introduce because you're worried it's going to seem too on the nose or it's going to seem too cliched or it's going to seem too generic superhero book. If you do that on every single one, there's no reason or no character for a reader to invest in as far as like a threat goes. And so I felt like by introducing this element of like Marshall in particular loves superheroes. You can tell in those first couple issues, like it allows us to have this slight self-awareness while also allowing for more sincerity in action from the characters. And I would argue we are like, there's modernism, there's postmodernism. We're like into, this is another thing Matt and I talk about. We're into like meta-modernism now. Everything matters, and it's the return of sincerity. We're not looking for dark deconstructionist takes. There's always room for that, for sure. But I think a lot of times complex and sophisticated get conflated with dark and edgy, and they are not the same. They're not mutually exclusive. And I think a lot of creators make that choice, and I've done it in earlier work as well, where it's like, I want to go dark and edgy because that's going to feel more real, whereas I think you can have just as much, if not more devastating emotional impact with things that are brighter and make you laugh.
But when you talk about that meta thing, is that something that you were consciously doing? For those that haven't read it, there's a few issues that swap between, so there's a choice who's going to have the power, isn't there, between the two main characters? And is that what you're talking about, the meta thing, where we get one from one point of view, perhaps in one reality, you know?
No. What I mean by meta in this instance is I'm referring to the scene in issue 3 where Marshall's like, dude, I'm trying to come up with superhero names for you. And Nathan's like, superheroes? What superhero? He's like, you returned free and clear bank robbery money. You've got the suit. Like all roads point to Rome here, you know? And they even start riffing on the name. And he's like, what about Radiant Black? And he's like, it's no Batman. And he's like, well, Batman wasn't Batman until you fill it with associations, you know? And he's like, well, wouldn't it be Black Radiant? And he's like, if you were a 70s Marvel character, sure. But so that is a level of self-awareness within the genre.
Yeah, and that immediately gets over a few hurdles, doesn't it? Dan,
Well, we've touched on that whole kind of like the readership, and generally creators seem to be sick of the deconstructing and breaking stuff down and everything being grim and gritty, and stuff slowly moving around to being more like I kind of personally are just so sick of stuff being broken down, because I feel it's like it's kind of done by creators when they're not sure what to do. So rather than try and build stuff up, break it down and to its constituent parts, and then they don't have anything to replace it with. It's just that's the key. That last part there, when you say they don't have anything to replace it with, I thought you were going to say they don't have anything interesting to say about it. That's the bigger thing to me. Like, that's the problem.
I love deconstructionist stories, but tell me something new about the material.
Yeah,
Kieran,
that's what I mean. They break it down with
Casper
nothing else to go on with it.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not caught up on the power fantasy, but like that's a book where I feel like, yes, I want to see Kieran deconstruct this type of storytelling, because I'm sure there's going to be something interesting there that he has to say about it. Whereas, I don't know. I don't want to throw.
I mean, there's many
but...
sort of like what we sort of view as these archetypes. People are, even when they create their own, people will take how many Batmen have we seen in the world that are attempting to do something edgy by, as we say, breaking it apart, giving it a different sort of view. But like I say, if they've got nothing more than the great idea of breaking apart Batman, why are you doing it? And I think one of the joys about like Radiant Black and how it leads into everything else is that, I was really taken by the joy of comics and superhero comics in it. I was like, I think the reason, because they're not perfect characters either. These aren't like, happy-go-lucky. Like Marshall, spoilers, he's a bit of an asshole to start, which is why the character arc.
They both kind of are, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, they're people essentially. Why like when the arc turns within the first volume, I was like, I was not expecting this, because we only see on the covers the suits, the powers, the effects, the great graphic design and stuff like that. It's what happens with the characters, and it's a very emotional book as well. But there's a lot of heart in it, and also like heroes being heroes, which feels like a foreign concept in a lot. I mean, is that something that because obviously this book has and Rogue Sun and everything else as the universe has bloomed. it comes from that sort of positive place of superheroes. But did you feel like the market was ready for that? Considering we've had decades of the deconstructions, the darkness and the edginess, you know, did you feel like this is ready to go?
I honestly I did, and it's because I did Power Rangers, and Power Rangers changed my career in a variety of ways. But one of the most significant ways is that, I mean, look, you become a better writer the more you do it, just in general. But Power Rangers was the first time where I had gone through the ringer at DC. I understood how to work within not only the politics, but also like the approvals process that is required with something like a Power Rangers, where it's a licensed book. But I also, when I take on a project, I'm really obsessive about trying to get to what I think is the core of it, and exploring all the aspects of it that are the most interesting to me, that I think are the most interesting emotionally, thematically, morally, all of it. And Power Rangers, basically it means is like, don't come in and write a Power Rangers book like the Ultimates. You know, that's not the job. The job is come in and accentuate and shine a light on what makes something like Power Rangers really work. And for me, Power Rangers has always been about, like, even at its hokiest, it's about the strength and power of friendship and teamwork, and we are better together, right? That's a more optimistic message than most Batman books probably are catered around.
It's also the message that sorry to jump in, but like the audience that watched it or got into it, that was the message that it had to begin with. So why would the message, you know, as a fan who's coming into it 10 years later, why would you want the message to be different? You want that
right.
Feeling,
I mean, I
right?
think you want. We always described it as it wasn't a reboot. It's a remix. Like, if you squinted, it all fit within the show, but that's because they asked me. They really wanted that. But I always treated it as entirely its own thing. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because the other way that it changed me is I became much more comfortable as a writer with optimism and ambiguity. And the ambiguity was happening for years behind the scenes. And what I mean by that is, I think that a lot of writers, especially when you're starting out, like you want to be taken seriously. You have massive insecurity, like every creator does. And so you immediately, or I would steer towards more like a Christopher Nolan kind of model, where it's like, I'm going to make sure everything is intricately plotted, and it's basically clever. You know, you're making sure every plot move is rock solid, and it's your twists are in the right place, and it's very technical, right? And it might be technically done really well, but it can be cold. And I think then on the emotional side of things, as a writer starting out, you want to do more deconstruction, because I'm just going to speak for myself. You feel insecure and you want to be taken seriously, and so it's like, well, the only way for a story to be taken seriously is if it's diving into the fallacies of man, right? And like talking about the dark, torturous ruins of being a human, you know? And like, there is a place for those types of stories, for sure. I don't know that I have anything that original to say about it in that context and through that lens. Whereas when I get into a book like Power Rangers, and the main character, our way into the book, is a guy who was just brainwashed for weeks to murder everybody, and now they've welcomed him onto the team, and he's still seeing hallucinations of the person who was controlling him. He doesn't know whether you talk about friendship and teamwork. How does he feel about doing this and being a Power Ranger? How does the team feel about him? The comp I used back then was about like LeBron James. Every basketball team, super team you put together, on paper, it looks like they should be incredible from, you know, the first tip off, but usually it took like half a season for them to figure out how to play together. Same thing. Like, I want to explore friendship and teamwork through the lens of someone new joining that team, and all of the complexity and the, you know, the idiosyncrasies and the weird personal issues and jealousies and all of those things that come out of that, you know? And so it's less deconstruction and more about getting into like being real people. And that is something that we tried to obviously carry over into Radiant Black, but then you also look at you look at the reaction to Power Rangers, you look at the aesthetic influence with like when we were doing Shattered Gray with Daniele Di Nicolo and Dan Mora. You look at all of these, just there's a brightness and a lightness to the material, even when it gets dark, that was working. And I did very much feel like, as a fan, I was tired of grimdark stuff just for the sake of grimdark. And I did think there was an interest in a return to sentimental.
To a certain extent, then, is Radiant Black what you wanted to do outside of the IP that contained you a bit on the previous work?
Power Rangers.
On Power Rangers.
Power Rangers?
Because I've heard because I personally didn't read Radiant Black straight away because I thought it was you being able to break free and do your own version of Power Rangers, because there's a similar aesthetic, you got the colored costumes and stuff.
Well,
like
I guess
that.
our messaging wasn't good enough then, because
you said when you moved over, you used the phrase when you moved over to Radiant Black. Is there anything that you took over from Power Rangers, or is there anything that you didn't want to do that you've done on Power Rangers?
Well, the irony is, I understand why everyone and why you're pointing to Power Rangers, and I think aesthetically that it makes the most sense to point to on your influence bingo card. Do you have Kamen Rider on your influence bingo card?
Yes, I do actually. Yeah.
So Kamen Rider is a far bigger influence than Power Rangers or Sentai is on Radiant Black.
We didn't see much Kamen Rider. We had him in hardback annuals over here, but we didn't see much of him over here. That's where we got him.
Sentai and Power Rangers are built around the concept and the dynamic of a team. Kamen Rider tend to be solo operators. If you look at, as Tony rightfully pointed out, this Radiant Black is really, at its core, it is a secret two-hander. This is a book about these two best friends navigating their relationship with the introduction of means to actually finally do something meaningful by way of the superpowers, right? The twist of Nathan, spoiler, getting basically killed in issue 4 and Marshall taking over, that is a riff on the secondary rider trope from Kamen Rider. If you go back to the very first season of Kamen Rider, the very first rider breaks his femur. He breaks his leg in a motorcycle accident on set. They have to recast him. They have to bring in someone else. So they create a new character. And now this is a new rider, right? Well, the original actor heals up over however many months. He comes back to the show. Now they've got 2. That then became a feature rather than a bug.
Okay.
Playing off of the secondary rider component and the switching of the powers and things like that. You don't see that as much in Western superhero comics beyond somebody takes up the mantle for a period of time, which is kind of what we're doing here.
Think of. Ghost Rider's the only
Iron Man, maybe a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, Batman was Jean-Paul Valley, but that was obviously in the 90s, or Dick Grayson Batman in the 2010s. But still, it was like, this is our take on it is a little bit different. So yes, there's actually quite a bit more Kamen Rider where when they're all together, they look like Sentai, but they are all doing their own things. And we're up to issue 33 now, like they've only all been together a handful of times. To this point.
And so, remember I thinking in
go on, Dan.
the Kamen Rider, it's exactly the same costume. One's got a red scarf and one's got a white scarf. That's how they delineated the two costumes.
Oh, is it?
Which is
Yeah.
great.
Right.
Yeah,
It's the cheapest way to do it. But I think, as we've been talking a lot about, like the initial start of the story, and I feel it's like, there's minus...
Should I say what the book's about? Like, I just realized I don't think we've actually mentioned what the book is.
Just give us that quick pitch for Radiant Black. Yeah, go on.
You're gone in.
So it's a contemporary superhero series about 2 disillusioned millennials navigating failed dreams, credit card debt, with the help of miniature black holes and existential giant robots. That's my. That's my.
I mean, that's got Image Book written all over it. As soon as you just say that, but it becomes.
I do. For a long time, I was, and then when people come up, like when Power Ranger readers come up that haven't tried the stuff, I do tell them that it's like Power Rangers with adult problems is the way that. Just,
Right.
if you know what if you like Power Rangers, that's the way I like to.
And
to
also,
describe it
if you like color in your book, some of the color work in this.
Oh, it's lovely stuff.
And there was a moment in the second volume, I've forgotten what issue it is, where it was all like negatives, and the line work was all yellows and blues and neons. It was like a Tron fever dream in the
You
best
get that
kind of way.
digital feedback. You know, there's that character who turns things digital, doesn't he? Almost.
Yeah.
there's a glitching. Yeah. Well, do you know the issue you're talking about in Volume 2? Do you know about the blacklight version of that?
No, there was a you did mention.
We keep away from black lights here, Carl.
Yeah, otherwise it's a mess.
That's just a cultural thing, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, what? Yeah,
You can
what
see
was
my
that?
house from space.
Yeah, I mean, because it works wonderfully. The issue works wonderfully if you were just reading it normally. But what was this? It was even more special than that.
Okay, so when you pointed out before that so much of the book is celebrating superheroes, right? You nailed it. That to me is the other component of this. I very much wanted, and I very much wanted this to be a very strong contemporary superhero book, but I also wanted it to be a book that celebrates being a fan of superheroes. And so what that means to me is being able to sorry, I'm loading up images as I'm talking here. What that means to me is, like, I go back to when I fell in love with all this stuff, and I know everyone says it was better when, right? But there was still a feeling for me as a fan of there being a bit of magic in the world through my teenage years. And my relationship with superheroes, especially the stuff that I love, like, it changes as you get older. And especially when I've done this now full time for 15 years, I don't love Batman the same way that I loved Batman for most of my life. And it makes me a little sad, to be honest. Like, I still love Batman, but the relationship's different. Part of the cost of entry is giving up your fandom to some extent. I wanted to try to create some of those types of stories, but also those bits of other medium that felt magical, or in the spirit of the type of stuff that made me fall in love with this in the first place. So what I mean by that is, like, growing up, certainly all the animated series we had in the 90s. I'm a huge film score guy. We would get these amazing, the Shirley Walker Batman, the animated series scores, the Danny Elfman stuff, like all of that. But then you look at, like, the early 2000s, you look at things like Cloverfield, which is not a superhero movie, but you look at the marketing around that and the viral ARG to it, the Dark Knight and some of that marketing and the ARG component to all of that. And basically, I wanted to use this book as a way to push the boundaries of contemporary comics as a medium and do things that evoke those feelings of, like, think about 60s Marvel, where you could cut out something from the back of the book and mail it in for, the Mary Marvel fan club, card or sticker or whatever, right? But how do we do that in the 2020s? So we use a lot of QR codes. We do secret animated short films through QR codes that are hidden in the book. That's in Volume 3. The first thing we did, though, was in Volume 2. And if I can find the right image here, we decided, and this was like a day one kind of idea for me, that when we inevitably do our, it's a superhero trope. It's the go to hell issue, right? When we inevitably do our version of a go to hell story, which was going to be inside of existence, this is a realm that all the miniature black holes come from, right? So I decided, let's do the entire book in fluorescent Pantone inks so that the whole book is actually a blacklight comic. If you can, here, I just asked to share.
Yeah.
Get that in here.
Listeners, if you've read the book, you probably know the issue because it's such a striking moment in the book. But even just print is just.
Here, let me show you. So this is the cover to issue 10, right?
Right. Okay. Issue 10.
Okay.
Get it up.
That's
get it up, listeners. Oh wow.
That's
nice.
it under blacklight. So our yellow channel of the CMYK, the 4-color process, our yellow is switched out for a fluorescent yellow cartridge, which means that every thing that has yellow mixed into it will take on more fluorescency based on how much yellow is in the mixture. So if you notice when you look at the issue, a lot of our greens actually skew more yellow for that reason.
Okay.
And then on top of that, we're printing with a 5th and a 6th specialty ink. So it's a Pantone fluorescent orange and a Pantone fluorescent magenta. So you can see how
I'll tell you what, you're
to look
talking some
that's
sexy
nice.
print speak right now.
Man.
It's doing things
must
to me.
have
As a
cost.
graphic designer, this is doing things
Yeah.
to me. Wow.
So the
nice.
idea, though,
Yeah.
and again, marrying form with concept, existence only cares about one thing, truth. And as they get deeper into the realm, I actually use the magenta ink as a storytelling device. So the magenta ink, it actually represents the light of existence. So when you read through issue 10, you can see him get overtaken by more and more magenta, culminating in that really big... we have little radiant black lights that we give out.
Awesome.
and everything, so you can see it.
I mean, I need
actually-
to get to a back issue bin and actually buy that, get hold of a print copy of this in some ways. This must.
Well, I might know a guy. Hit me up afterwards.
Nice.
So I sign all the trades at shows in the secret radiant signature. So it's actually in. Is that showing up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's actually in. I have invisible ink markers and a stamp set and everything I bring to show. So it's all in invisible ink essentially. And then when you hit it with a black light, you can see it. So
That's awesome.
we do all
Nice.
sorts of experiential things. Think of like the little radiant blacklight keychain as like your secret decoder ring, from
That's amazing.
many years ago. Drink your Ovaltine. I don't know if that reference makes sense in the UK, but
Sure.
the US listeners are cackling right now, I promise. But yeah, so that was kind of one of the first instances. Actually,
What was
the issue
that like
before
to
we did,
request that though from like image to because that's quite a big.
Guess you're your
printing-
own editors, are you? Or
Yeah. Was that something you had
We
to
are.
push hard for, or was that something you said from the outset? We want to do one black light issue.
I mean, it was pretty. No. It was pretty easy. I mean, I basically said, "Hey, we want to do this. Can we spec this out?" And Heather DeConnick, who is the print, she runs all print at Image. She's got a fantastic resource of printers around the world. She's like, "Ooh, a blacklight comic." She's like, "We haven't done a full one of those yet." And so she reached out and she found a printer in French-speaking Quebec. And so we actually we had to go through language translation for all this with the printer. It's very, very complicated because not only is it very, very expensive, but the specialty inks, the Pantones, those actually have to sit on top of knocked out underneath layers. So if there's an orange or a magenta sitting on top of everything, it's kind of like screen printing where it can't be blended. It has to be like halftone dropped down to create a gradient, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It also means that everything underneath that Pantone has to be white. So it's a lot of work for the colorist to go in.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Just because since you're such a print nerd like me, I say that with love. Let me show you this real quick.
who was the colorist on that, Carl?
So this is Igor Monti. This was the first book we did with Igor. Igor colors Inferno Girl Red as well as Moon Man. Here we go. All right, let me show you this real quick. I'm just gonna open these in Photoshop. You know what? I don't own the Pantone library anymore.
Good old Pantone doing what Pantone do best.
I know, right? Hold on,
But we're gonna have to get some of those. If you could send us some of those images, because the listeners have to see.
I've nicked a couple off the screen
For the screen.
Yeah, I've got the black light thing.
I mean,
Nice.
even before everything you said just did things to me.
I'll send you some images for
Yeah.
sure. Here, let's look at this one real quick. So if you look at
This is page
1 of issue 10,
which is a beautiful page by itself. Listeners.
This is falling downwards through the panels.
Yeah.
Whilst changing.
Yeah.
For the listeners.
So if you look here, if you look at the channels on the right, so you have your CMYK of everything,
Yeah.
of your 4-color, and then these are just the 2 Pantones that are on right now that you can see, right? So if you see,
Wow.
Gotcha.
Wow.
Then you
Okay.
go to like this.
Right. I mean, this issue by itself. I mean, when I was reading it, I loved just those bright colours were amazing. Anyway,
I didn't clock that was going on in the background. So as the
No, I didn't
colorist, there's
either.
a lot to
Yeah.
go on.
yeah. I mean, this is like, you know, just Eisners for colorists up the wazoo. Do you know what I mean? They deserve all the awards for.
See, to me, this is why digital was invented. There should be an option somehow to scan through that sort of thing on a digital copy. You can't do it on a paper one.
You know what the
but there
irony
must
is,
be.
though. You know what the irony is, though. If you were to show this digital, you would get none of the glowing effects
Yeah.
of the black
Right.
light.
I mean, I brought those the issue and the pages up because they were still, because they were bold, striking colours. It's still doing something, and I think that's what the impressive, like, creative thing that the issue does. It's still making it. It's a statement issue. And I was already.
That was the goal behind it. It really was. I mean, it felt like I structured this so that every couple issues we were going to be doing something a little unconventional. So like issue 3 is an issue where it's a day in the life of Nathan trying to figure out how to adapt a short story into his novel. And so I wrote all that, I don't write prose, but I wrote that short story for it, which we printed fully. And then you're watching him in thought bubbles. We designed a new style of thought bubbles specifically for this issue that has it's in line with all of our other design elements in the book. But Becca created this really cool thing of this accentuating wavy line around the bubble that she would augment based on like stress levels, like how frenetic it looked. And we go through the entire issue. That's the one where he carries the family with the scarf and the car and everything to the basketball game. But that whole issue, it's like day in the life of trying to adapt something and creating this as a writer, creating this little puzzle box where it's like you have to understand why he can't crack it, but you also have to know what the answer is. So it's this. It was actually like a ton of work. And then issue 4, we kill Nathan. Issue 9 is the day in the life of, or 6 months in the life of Marshall, which is a very formalist issue. 10 is the blacklight stuff. Supermassive comes after 12, you know. So, and then 15 is the short film. 18 is the 4 eras all at once, is the big accordion fold out. I don't know if you guys saw that one. But yeah, so it's kind of designed that way to allow for us to take some pretty kind of bold.
But you're doing it storytelling wise. It's to enhance the
It
storytelling.
always has to work for the story. It always has to be additive to what we're doing narratively. It has to work that way. It's never the other way around. It's not like, I want to do a blacklight issue. How do we make this make sense for the book? You know?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I think there was a couple of blacklight around that. I think you're before Jim Rugg's version, are you? Jim Rugg did
No,
one,
we're
didn't
after.
he?
So
After,
Jim is the
right.
first. Yeah, for
Right.
sure. Jim is the first. Octobriana.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
I haven't seen in person. I don't think I've seen the videos that they did on it, which looks awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously, we're just scraping the tip of the iceberg with this, and Radiant Black has captured so much that this whole chat has almost been about that. But
Yeah.
I mean, but you've got it. I mean, there's the bigger universe that's happening, but obviously you just had like the rebuild era. So you've had this point where you've already done these stories that we've just been talking about, and you've done like 30 plus issues, and now you're at a point where, is it the second stage of it, of the chrysalis, about bringing in new readers? You're all about keeping it consistent for new readers as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I think that as you say, we've done, numbering wise, up through issue 30.5, but in totality I think it's something like 36 issues, because we split the timeline and we were doing 0.5 issues, but the 0.5 issues were completely unique original comics separate from the standard numbered version. I'm trying not to spoil it for people who haven't read that far, but we basically break the timeline in half and continue exploring 2 diverging timelines under 2 different covers with 2 different art teams doing 2 completely different books that then end up coming back together at the end of the Catalyst War and revealing the winner of the vote for who will be Radiant Black, and that's going to be the new status quo going forward. So 31 kicks off that status quo. We have branded it out as the launch of our rebuild era, and the reason we use the term rebuild, it's for a few reasons. First, last year, everything I just said about what the Catalyst War is and the Diverging, that made it sound much simpler than it was to pull off. It was a monumental effort for the last year and a half to do that for essentially 6 different issues. We did 12 issues, but as 6 releases. And I had another huge surgery last year, and there's stuff in personal lives going on as well. And basically we had a lot of delays last year. So we finally got the Catalyst War wrapped up, and then we took a few months off stands in order to get our ducks in a row and bank issues now that we were down to just, fortunately, 1 book every release. And so we wanted to basically brand out to retailers and readers that we're back, we're on time, we're on monthly schedule again, we're going to be consistent. But then beyond that, perfect time to jump on. Like, there are very few books in comic stores above issue number 30 numbering wise these days, and there are even fewer independent books. You have to create natural jumping on points, which goes against kind of what a lot of the realities in the market are right now, which is that readers and definitely retailers don't want to jump onto a book in the 30s. They want to look for the new number ones. And there's such limited shelf space in the comic stores, and there's so many great books out there and so many publishers that you really have to find a way to kind of cut through that. And that was my big kind of undertaking for January leading up to Final Order cutoff on Radiant Black 31 and Rogue Sun 25, which is new jumping on points. How are we messaging this? And how are we creating accessibility here while still carrying through from, the repercussions of the Catalyst War? And so we did a few cool things. We did this, which is it was a surprise that we sent to stores. It's a 16-page comic that stores got for free, and it's called Radiant Black: The Story So Far, and it goes through basically the first 30.5 issues of the book in 16 pages, walking you through everything you need to know. And then I went out and asked my friends Will Friedle and Ryder Strong, who are voicing Marshall and Nathan for our upcoming full cast audiobook. They actually recorded a version of this as Marshall and Nathan that I then animated and cut together as a big, 2-minute long vertical short that's kind of blew up on the internet. Again, as a way to teach people anything they may have missed, but also hey, this is a cool, different thing. You give it a shot, right? And then the other reason for the Rebuild moniker really just has to do with story purposes. And we're coming out of the Catalyst War, which involved a big machine empire descending on Chicago, and there's a lot of wreckage, and now the city is trying to rebuild, just as Marshall is trying to become a better, not only person, but superhero after what he saw his other self do in the other timeline during the Catalyst War. And so I don't know if you guys have spent any time in Chicago before, but unlocking money is not exactly easy. And the bureaucracy that is involved in any sort of cleanup effort like that would be massive. So when issue 31 kicks off, it's 5 months after the end of the Catalyst War, and there's still a giant 100-foot tall, dead, colossal robot in the middle of State Street that they just can't dismantle, And I read No Man's Land in the 90s, every single week. I loved that story. The thing that always I found funny, though, was that at the end of it, after a year plus of really intense, intricately woven storytelling, literally when it's done, the next month, it's LexCorp has moved into Gotham and helped rebuild it. And it's oh, we're back to standard Gotham status quo. I understand it. Totally understand it. But I'm more interested in telling stories in that gray area.
Yeah.
And you're trying to rebuild post an event, but what actually does that look like? What do people think of the events that happened, of Radiant Black? We have conspiracy theory groups that are starting up and militias, and there's a lot of different powers at play here as the world is starting to, take opinions on not only Radiant Black, but
this interesting period that they could work with all these stories and ideas, and then immediately stopped it and just went back to the status quo. It's like that Simpsons episode where Lisa's saying about how at the end of every episode it goes back to the status quo.
Yeah.
And then it does that immediately, and you're like, okay.
Whereas with this, you've got like a universe, and instead of wiping the slate clean, there's a fertile amount, like almost an infinite amount of storytelling possibilities with something like that, isn't there? You know.
Yeah, and I think there's a responsibility there as a creator. I mean, to not only be doing a creator-owned book in 2025, but to be doing a creator-owned superhero book at Image in 2025. Like, you better bring it. Like, you just better. Like, and it's not even for the sake of, because if you don't, no one's going to buy the book. It's also like, there's a level of, I don't know, there's a level of craft and respect I think you should have if you're going to come into, especially like the superhero space, like, do something different. Things need to matter. Choices need to have consequences and repercussions. And do not renumber either. That's my other, like, be what the rest of the superhero market refuses to be. And I don't think you can do it any other way. And I think it behooves you as a creator to think that way. Because otherwise you're going to just be creating stuff that is safe. And, you know, I have this conversation with some of our other creators sometimes where it's like, and this is a thing that Eric would yell at me about, Stevenson. It's like, I'm just going to use Rogue Sun as an example. I'm not saying this is the case, but like it's like, okay, Ryan, okay, that story for Rogue Sun, why should people pick that up? Why don't they just go pick up Batman? Like, what is it about that story that you can only tell in Rogue Sun?
Yeah.
If you're doing something that could be a Batman story, I'm not saying Ryan's doing that. I'm just using it as an example.
Yeah.
It's like, then it's not a Rogue Sun story. Like, you need to push harder, because otherwise you are going to get drowned out by the same type of thing, but with a more recognizable, popular character and iconography and name behind it. You know, I think I get tagged sometimes on social. We did the Radiant Black issue 18. Did you guys read through volume 3 yet?
Yeah.
It's the origin of Radiant Yellow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that version is 4 eras of his life all at once, and each era is separated by 18 years for issue 18. So it's 1984, 2002, 2020, 2038, right? And it's page turns. So you're reading like timelines all the way across these double page spreads, right? Well, I wrote it to work another way. And the blacklight printing was expensive, but this is actually the single most expensive print job I've ever been involved with.
Do you want to just describe it for the listeners there?
Yeah.
So this is issue 18, but it's all done as one piece of paper. So it's an accordion fold out. So all 22 pages can be stretched out. It's actually 12 on one side. No, I think it's 28. It's 14 on one side and 14 on the other. So you can read the eras in the proper order, right? It actually changes the story, because you're learning information at different points than you would in the page turn version, right? So we did this. We made 200 or 250 copies only of this accordion fold out one, right? And like, you know, I'm not the first one probably to do 4 eras all at once across an entire issue, right? But the way we did it was different, and I think it's pretty unique. I'm really, really proud of it. You know, I get tagged sometimes on social. I guess Dennis Camp and the Ultimates just did something similar with 4 eras all at once, which is awesome. Love that, right? What is going to be known more? The Ultimates doing that, or an independent book at Image doing that? The Ultimates is going to be known more for that. It's just more public. People know that. They read the Avengers. The numbers are better, right? So it's just the point I'm trying to make is that you have to come out here swinging. You just have to.
And I think, I mean,
gotta bring it.
That is a perfect way to round this up, because I think Radiant Black is a series that swings hard, and obviously it's swung so hard that the Massive verse has grown up around it as well.
You got to remember as well, it's just fun as well. It's a fun comic.
Totally.
That's the best thing about it for me, and it's about people.
Yeah. I mean, if it's if you've probably seen the covers, listeners, but you got to see it for yourself, I think, and you got to read it, because the reading is a completely different experience, and it's an independent superhero series and universe done right. And I cannot, you know, with the other big things, and there's something for everyone with Rogue Sun and, you know, Cowl and everything else going on.
It's a lazy comparison, but if you have enjoyed Invincible, you will enjoy Radiant Black.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're sick of hearing that, Carl, but
No,
it's
no,
good
not at
company.
all. You know what? No, no, not at all. It's like it's an honor to be
Yeah.
compared to that. And Robert gave us an amazing quote for the first volume, or well, actually, it's for issue one, comping it to it's the perfect superhero comic for anyone missing Invincible. The thing that I find funny now is that there's equal parts, especially since we do so many videos now on like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, and we're raising general awareness on everything this year because we have the back catalog now that is enough for people to kind of dive into and really explore and get invested in. But as a result of that, like the number of comments that people message me saying, this is nothing like Invincible, also
No, yeah,
equally
it's not.
entertains me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know,
Yeah.
I don't know anymore. It's become its own thing. But Invincible is definitely on the influence bingo card for sure.
The other one, the final one of my influence bingo, is my biggest swing, which I don't think is going to be right because it might be from before you were born, was Nova.
Ah,
It's not, but that's a really good. Yes, that's a good ballpark. I think.
Yeah,
To
it gives me that
play
same
in.
I
scratches
can
that
see
same
that
itch
bit
for
kind
me.
of. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's some Kyle Rayner Green Lantern in there as
Yeah.
well. You know, I mean, honestly, it's there's a lot of Spider-Man for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, Nova was famously the next sort of Spider-Man in a way.
That's-
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thought that was Darkhawk. No,
As later.
no, I've talked about this quite a bit publicly as well, but like that's our other big thing is like every book is its own thing. So
Yeah.
if anyone's listening to this and going like, oh my God, what is Rogue Sun? What is Inferno Girl? Like this sounds like a lot. No, you only have to read what you're interested in.
Yeah.
And if you only are interested in Radiant Black, you only have to read that and you'll get full narrative experience. Once a year we do
Same
a
with Cal,
50-page one shot. Same with Cowl, yep. No one, same thing. And once a year we do a 50-page one shot where the characters team up and like a done in one story. If you've read the books up to that issues or that that Supermassive, the Supermassive will be additive to everyone's character arcs. If you haven't read the books, it's fine. You will learn everything you need to know in that Supermassive so that you can have a full story there. So we designed it all to be modular and additive, but not necessarily necessary, if that makes sense. And like the thing about like the line in general, not only having fun, but like the color and the aesthetics and everything you're talking about, like I wanted to do what Marvel used to do, which was we're the world outside your window. And that's what Marvel in the 60s was. That's how they really defined themselves. They haven't really been that for a number of years through no fault of their own. It's just that's what happens when you introduce so much fantastical to said fictional world. At a certain point, there's no way the world is going to look like what we actually live in because you've changed it so much. Which is fine. That happens to every single property, every single book at a certain density. But I feel like we can do that. We're small, and we reflect real places and eras and stuff going on right now through allegory, and sometimes directly, but most of the time through allegory. And
there's also giant fucking robots as well.
Giant
things like
fucking
that.
robots. There's a movie coming up next year.
Giant
There's all
fucking
sorts of
robots.
stuff.
Yeah.
Copyright that, Kyle.
No, but where can obviously look for it in your stores and your independent comic book shops, etc. But where can people find out more, Carl, and follow you, etc.?
Yeah, so the best way is probably through our newsletter. We have a Black Market narrative newsletter. If you just go to our website, it's blackmarket.la. You can sign up for the newsletter there. There's also more information on all the books there. There's a tab on the Black Market page for the Massiveverse, which is actually also redirected from massive-verse.com. So you can go to massive-verse.com to see specifically all the trades in this universe. There's direct buy links there for you as well. We are working on a big new Massiveverse website that we were hoping to have up a couple months ago, but it's a small team of us and we are perpetually drowning in time sensitive deadlines. But eventually we will have this site up and it should be a pretty cool centralized hub for everything, and included some reading order lists for it's dynamic. So depending on which books you're interested in, you could check
Nice.
boxes for
Tell
I
you
want
which
to see
ones to get.
Radiant Black Rogue Sun and Dead Lucky, and then the list will populate with the not in order to read them in, but in the order that where the trades line up with each other. So you can see in a
nice.
timeline where the titles kind of slot. Even though everything's its own thing, it gives you a sense of like, chronologically how things played out.
Wow. So much for listeners to go and discover. And this is, I mean, we've had a joy discovering it. And this, like I say, there's so much. Just wait until you read all the other series, listeners. It's amazing. Don't say we don't spoil you.
Well, yeah.
And Kyle, you have spoiled us this week. This has been amazing.
Cheers,
man.
Kyle.
We could
Thanks,
talk
man.
for
Cheers, man.
days.
Yeah, Kerry,
thank
we
you
could
very
talk.
much for
Yeah,
joining
yeah.
us.
I
stuff.
reread all 6 trades this weekend. There you go. It
you
is a
really?
lovely read. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. How did 5 and 6 read for you in one go?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Yeah, I've got the since issues ready to come, but it's on my subscribe list. But yeah, no, it's good, man. Yeah. I'd never read Cal because my son had taken it. I got it for my son, and I reread that. Yeah, good. Yeah, I read it.
Nice.
Good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll send you guys the one issue of Cowl that is not in those collections is issue number 6, and it's for
Okay.
it's for stupid reasons. I overthought it back in the day because it's the first time we did an issue. I look back on it now, and it's like very much the blueprint for a lot of what we're doing in the Massiverse now. It's it's designed as an in-universe issue, so it's the origin of the Grey Raven, but it's the origin of the Grey Raven as if Jeffrey Warner licensed the rights to his story to a Stan Lee and Jack Kirby of the era to like make. So it's kind of
Okay.
it's
Oh,
kind
wow.
of a like it's a glossy kind of watered down version, but that's by design.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see like literally at the bottom, special thanks to Jeffrey Warner and Cowell for unprecedented access, right? But we also did this thing where we ran fake ads for image books, all in the
Right.
style of 1960s books, right?
Yeah.
We've got Bitch Planet and Velvet there because this was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Then we also did this. This was for real, though. This is a jazz album, an original jazz album called The Cowl Sessions.
Oh, wow.
Joe Clark, who writes Radiant Black with me now, he wrote The Catalyst War with me. Joe is a big jazz composer and trumpet player in Chicago. He's one of my best friends since high school. We met playing in jazz bands growing up. He scored my college film, The League, that Cowl is based on, with an original 60s like bebop style score. And so then we turned around and did an original album that's a concept album. So it'd be like Miles Davis doing the Jack Johnson sessions, where it's like, oh, this was music for the film, but then he puts it out as a concept album. Same thing. This is like a concept album for Cowl, as if these characters really existed and someone was writing charts about them in the 50s and 60s. So we actually put it out. We're going to put it out on vinyl probably next year, but it's on streaming platforms now.
Where'd you
And
find
then
the
we
time?
had like fake toys.
Yeah.
Nice
Is the
work.
league on YouTube or anything like that? Can people go and watch it? Or?
It is. You know what? It's actually on the Massiverse YouTube, which is the
okay.
best place
I'll track that down.
to grab it.
Nice.
So if you go to youtube.com/@Massiverse, I believe all one word, you can find it there. The reason I'm bringing up Cowl 6, though, I'll send you a PDF of it. When we finally put out the 1964 trade paperback that collects issues 1 through 4 of the mini, we're also going to include issue 6 in it. So that 1964 trade will end up collecting this like long lost Cowl issue that people ask me about all the time that I don't have a good answer for.
Cool.
Bloody, it's so much to. Oh God, we got even more to read now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
are
listen
Well,
to-
and
such-
you haven't done No One yet, have you?
No,
not yet.
not yet.
No.
Ooh,
That's
yeah,
that's on our reading app that
Yeah.
we're not going to mention,
Yeah.
but yeah.
And
Yeah.
did you have it on the reading app? Do you have the trade paperback version, or do you have the monthly issue?
well,
It's the
check.
trade.
Trade it. Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, that book has 35 QR codes in it, and it not only has the 10 episodes of the scripted audio series we did with Rachel Lee Cook
okay.
and Patton Oswalt and Lauren Lester from Batman the Animated Series. He's the voice of Robin and Nightwing. He voices No One for us. Yuri Lowenthal from the Spider-Man games, and Tara Platt, and Todd Stashwick, Walter Jones from Power Rangers. Like, we just had this Murderers Row cast. So it's about 6 hours worth. Is it 6? Might be less. Every issue of the comic has a corresponding episode of this in-universe podcast that we did as a scripted audio series. Brian and I wrote everything ourselves, and I directed it all. And so there's QR codes to each episode in the book, but then there's also QR codes to all of the in-universe newspaper articles we did, which I hired a crime reporter from CNN and the Chicago Tribune to come in and write with us. The website where no one doxes criminals, we made that for real as well. If you go to, here, I'll show you. If you go to like this, 00110000.info is binary for 0. So you learn the code from the book and the podcast to connect to the servers. Loads up the servers for no one. And these are all of the files from the 10 months, all date stamps. And so as you're reading the book, it will tell you to go watch this video or listen to this file, and you could go to the site and access it here. But we'll do things like, where is it? So something like this is a really good example where we did an issue of the book. Here we go. So we did an issue of the book where he gets in this confrontation with police officers, and there's a misunderstanding, basically. He gets spotted at a crime scene planting a GoPro camera, okay? There's a chase with officers, and then he's fleeing up rooftops. There's a big parking structure. There's a big leap down. Helicopters hit him, tell him to freeze. From there, a cop actually opens fire first, but it ends up getting deflected, this taser, and hitting another officer. So no one gets blamed. He gets smeared at the end of the issue by the chief of police, blaming him for all this, etc., right? So a few days later, we ran a newspaper article. This is when the book was coming out in real time. So we ran a newspaper article talking about this press, this whatever it's called, where the chief of police is smearing him and everything, right? Press conference. Can you believe they pay me to put words together for a living? So they runs this article talking about no one attacking the officers and everything else, right? So then in the real world, no one through social media announced that he dropped a new file. And so this is the file that he dropped.
I mean...
wrong one.
Listeners, I think...
It's some kind of war games thing. I don't quite understand it, but I'm liking it.
There's so much to these books now
Here,
and this universe. I think...
Yeah.
Hold on.
Bloody hell.
Oh, no, hang on, here we go.
We've fallen down a black hole. Pardon the pun.
I feel like I'm on the dark web now, Kyle. I don't know what's going on. Oh, so this is the bit you just showed us in the comic. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So this is a video of the rooftop chase.
Yeah.
It's like a POD of the rooftop chase.
Who's doing the breathing?
That's not me.
That's Lauren Lester.
Oh, okay.
I mean...
Oh, there we go. Wow.
This is the police. We are ordering you to get down on the ground.
Who says you can't have helicopters in your comic, eh?
Yeah,
It's expensive.
Nixon. Coward.
Anyway, yeah, so he ends up threatening the...
That's an insane amount. I mean, we were
work,
just
lovely
talking about
stuff.
Radiant Black, and now there's all of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, Carl.
Your comics are a hobby on their own. That's, I think, what you're doing, isn't it? You're keeping them. You're keeping the people.
All right. One last one, and then I'll shut up, I promise. So at the end of No One, without spoiling it, the final issue wraps up. There's some articles, right? And then there's this.
And it all looks like
do you guys have
genuine
your
news.
do you guys have your phones on you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
Okay. So
Scan that QR code.
Right. Okay.
Is this going to take me to Pornhub? No.
No, unfortunately.
If you're lucky.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get this to work.
Yeah. Mine is
Blackmarket.la. Oh, it's YouTube now. Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, announcement trailer. There you go.
Look at that.
We'll see. So these are like screenshots of the announcement trailer.
No. On the page.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Announcement trailer. Nice one.
So
Okay.
that is a 2-minute long live action trailer that we did.
You
for
got
No
the helmet
One.
from that. Yeah.
We had a full suit. We had a full suit made
Awesome.
Right.
and helmet sculpted and everything. And
Oh,
so we
sweet,
shot
mate.
that on a rooftop in downtown LA a few days before San Diego Comic Con, and then we dropped it announcing the feature film that we're making with Steven Schneider, who did Paranormal Activity and the Insidious films,
Right.
as well as CQ Entertainment and Stuart Manischel. Brian and I are both producing and writing the movie, and then I'm directing. And the film, like I was saying before we started recording, the film is a fake documentary. So it's made up of all the footage that was recovered from the No One operation, the first person stuff, GoPro stuff, all of it. And so because the film's a fake documentary, ideally all the actors who play the characters on the audio series will voice them in front of camera to keep the immersion, and then the film will both adapt the events of the comic and the audio series and the ARG, but it will also continue the story. So it creates one big multi-narrative of these three things together like that.
So basically,
clever.
listeners,
Awesome.
you need to read a lot of comics and get stuck in, because this is...
Yeah.
this
But only
is
the
awesome.
stuff you're interested in.
Only the
Yes.
stuff you're interested in, and it's all good stuff.
I've got to tell you, Kyle, if you're in my phone now, because I pressed on that thing, don't believe any of the texts.
Yeah,
I'm
we'll be
sending.
getting a lot of
All right.
emails from
Yeah.
No, thank you,
Deal,
Carl. This
deal.
has been amazing.
Yeah,
There's
man.
so
It's been
much
good
more
stuff.
for me to read now.
Loads- Yeah.
It's been awesome.
The moral of the story is when you see a QR code in one of our comics, make sure you scan it.
And there you go. So much superhero talk.
Good stuff.
And I'm sure there's going to be more superhero talk in the future. Of course there will. This is a comic book show. I think, is it possible to do any kind of comic book podcast without even 1% mention of superheroes? I'm
Some
saying
people try.
there's lots of shows that don't, of course, and they're all valuable. I haven't listened to them, so that's just a sweeping statement. That's a sweeping statement I can make because I
I had a good meta joke. I ordered that new Youngblood 1 Deluxe from Rob Liefeld. I thought I want to see what the issue runs like. Got a message through from Forbidden Planet, said this issue, the order has been delayed. I was like, of course it fucking
I saw
has.
that. Yeah.
yeah.
A comment from Rob Liefeld not turning up on time. That's a God.
Well, you did
mad.
agree with him about
anomaly.
the X-Men
Yeah.
books this week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
Do you think it's time to call Diddy definitely?
What?
nice
Oh.
one. It's
Jesus.
you just got to come up with a really controversial opinion about something when you're promoting a new product. Like,
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
to be fair, he's not
Yeah, but
wrong
the thing
about
is,
the
it's
X-Men
got to
titles,
be
is he?
it's got to be something that's going to inspire, like, either controversy or hate speech. Like, for instance, if I just sort of said, I've got a new comic coming out. Do you know what? I've never liked Marmalade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a true statement. Come out
I
on the
like
internet.
Marmalade. All right, Paddington. Or say
What do you
that
mean?
you're
I can't be Paddington
You can't
because I
be
don't like
Paddington,
He
can
Marmalade.
loves Marmalade.
you could be a Spanish flasher.
Can
Why?
you can't really do that thing
Senor
though.
Willy.
Rob Liefeld sounded like, oh, I've spoken to loads of people and they all hate X-Men, all these creatives and stuff. And it's like, but you can't name names, so is that actually true or not? Sorry, I just overtalked your joke there, Tiana.
No, thank you, Dan. Thank you for keeping it up because I was losing my shit just then. Yes, but no, we'll get into. I mean, next week we start an entire month. Get used to the sound of our voices if you haven't by now, folks, because it's going to be 3
More dad jokes.
amigos. Because it's May and it's just us
That's a
three.
good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
we're
mean,
going to be.
couldn't be bothered to book any guests.
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe we just wanted to give the world a break.
Yeah.
Or maybe just give it more sexy content because it's just going to be us three. So stay tuned to, obviously, Instagram and the Slack if you're on there, because we'll be throwing out. We'll be asking you lovely listeners for some questions and some content and some opinions and stuff, and we'll release what we're going to be talking about in those weeks. But
And we got a drink and draw on Friday, so we'll probably get some subjects there. I reckon.
Oh yes. Yeah.
that sounds like a
Yeah.
shout out, Tony. When is
Thank
the
you.
drink and draw? Kick us off.
The drink and draw is this Friday. If you're listening this very week, the 2nd of May at 7:30 onwards. If you want to come along, the link will be in the Slack as of later tonight, or just contact us and we'll give it to you. Everyone's welcome.
Real.
Nice. Have you got any others, Tony?
I have. So myself and Falpy are on episode 2 of In Full Disclosure with Jonny Cannon, talking comics. That was great fun. Apologies for the humour. You can find it at Johnny's Substack, or you can find it on Spotify as well. It's called In Full Disclosure. I'm about to record a new NIA, a deep dive into the cartoonist Gerald Scarfe with Eamon.
Oh,
the
nice.
LCBC. So I'm really looking forward to that. I will bore you at some point with the mini cocktails that were had in the Gerald Scarf Bar in High Holborn the other day.
Yeah.
Got to say, my knowledge on that creator is lacking. Virtually, I've got virtually nothing about him, so that'd be an interest to take that one in.
Yeah, we've done a deep dive. Tribute Press update. The third book is now up for a test print, so we are one book away from finishing. So we're almost there.
Brilliant.
Those waiting. Thank you, guys.
Nice. What shout-outs you got down?
Kickstarter, I've got Distinctly British Comics, a brand new, exciting creator-owned cosmic comic with more bite than a British bulldog and more punch than a punch-drunk punk. They made that as hard as possible for me.
Well done.
Nice work. That's sailing towards its goal. We've got another 25 days to go. Do go check that out. There's loads of UK creators on there which I'm unfamiliar with, but looking at their work, it looks really nice. I've backed it and look forward to receiving that one. Vanguard, I've only got 2 more pages left, and that's the end of this issue.
Yeah,
it's been quite a barnstorm with this one. Did a double-page spread the other day. Which
I've been getting my money's worth through your Patreon as well, right? Yeah, almost every day you're putting stuff on there. Yeah,
trying to, like kind of.
It's proper
I do like any interaction of kind of.
Yeah.
Do you guys like this? Yes or no? Does that work? And then incorporating it in the comic. And then I'm signing on with the Green Archer guys again to do a Green Archer comic set in the past 1940s. So that's
cool.
I've started on that, and that's great fun because I don't usually draw that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. We've got Lawless.
Funny you should mention that.
Oh yeah, what's the Lawless? That's normally, you mention that every year, Dan, don't you normally? But then there's another one coming around. I tell you what, it'd probably be better if we had someone on to talk about it. Don't you think, Tony?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, who do you think we should talk to?
Perhaps we should get Su Haddrell on, who organises Lawless.
Yeah. I tell you what, Tony. Why don't you get her on the phone now? Me and Dan are just going to do some stock keeping.
You go to have a kiss and cuddle, and I'll get her on the phone.
Okay, Dan, come on.
Okay, back by popular demand as trailed by Dan every week. I don't know if you know that, Sue, but Dan mentions your event. We've got Su Haddrell back from the Lawless Comic Con. Hello, Sue.
Hiya, thank you ever so much for having me.
Don't be silly. This is it's like a yearly event for us. We always expect a little message from you to say, what are you boys up to? And so it's an event we always look forward to. Now, I'm right in saying that Lawless takes place over the 24th to the 25th of May.
Correct, yeah.
Now, does that, as last year, lead into a bank holiday? Is that right?
So we try and hold it on the last bank holiday of May every year, basically. Mainly so it gives me a chance to have a day off on Monday.
Yeah, and your lot drink more than the Queen Mother, don't they, as well? So it gives them a sort of hangover day. Now, it's been going since 2014, is that right?
It has, yeah. So last year was our 10-year anniversary, so we're on our 11th year this year.
Wow, that's good going, isn't it? Yeah.
You
had a year off for the 40th, and then did you have a year off during COVID, I'm guessing?
We did, yeah. I think we might have had 2 years off in the end, so we cancelled it outright the first time, and then we decided to cancel it last minute and do an online show the second time round. So, yeah, there's been a couple of gaps in it overall, but we still keep going.
Still not a bad record, and the guests only get better, and we're going to go through them in a minute. Now, I thought we'd start off by just talking a little bit about the charity. So did you want to mention them, Sue?
Yes, so we try and raise money for a charity every year. Previously, we've done sort of mental health charities and climate-related charities, and this year we're doing the Trussell Trust, which is a food bank charity trying to end food poverty. And it's something everybody's at one point or another coming across is the cost of living crisis. Everyone's short at the moment, and things are costing far too much. I mean, even I'm noticing it. Even running the show, it's costing a bomb every year.
Oh, really?
So the Trussell Trust seems like a very good fit for kind of the type of audience that we have, and we're really proud to be able to support them as well and do anything we can to help.
Good stuff. Now, if you can't get there on the event, on the 2 days, you can also go to trussell.org.uk, and I think you can donate through the website there as well, just in case you can't get there. But we have a
Yeah, we have a tombola. So every year we get donations towards a tombola, and we will get art donations on the day as well, and prints and stuff like that. All the money raised from prizes, sort of from buying tickets to win prizes on the tombola, goes to the charity of choice. And I'm really proud as well this year that we're finally able to bring the draw off back this year.
Oh,
So,
nice. Oh, good. I like
we've
those.
got some good artists for the draw off, and all the silly drawings that will be happening on stage, live on stage on giant flip charts, will be raffled off on the day. So you can buy your raffle tickets during the actual panel itself, and at the end of the panel, we just we raffle off. We call out the number, and you can win the art, and all that money goes towards the charity as well.
Great stuff, mate. Now, I don't know, have you told the people who are involved in the draw-off yet that they're involved?
I haven't, no.
All right, so I was going to say,
that's
that's the first question before I was going to say, well, who's doing that then? And you're going to say, I can't tell you yet because they don't know. No, that's
It
cool.
will be shown that the program is due to be released in I think 2 or 3 weeks' time. So yes, as soon as we got some designs together from that, then you'll see who's going to be on board for the day.
Good stuff, mate. Good. So, as I understand from we had a quick chat before we started recording, there are tickets still available,
Yeah.
and it's the same venue as last year, isn't it? Is that right?
It is, yeah. So tickets aren't available on the door. We only sell in advance. We don't do on the door. So you can buy tickets through lawlesscomiccon.co.uk. And it is at the Doubletree by Hilton, Redcliffe Way in Bristol. So same venue as we have it every year in Bristol.
That little triangle of roads there is got a real history because it used to be where Bristol Expo used to be in the 90s.
Bristol Comic Con as
yeah,
well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really got a bit of history about it. But the other thing you told me before we came on is there's no trader spots available. They've all been taken up. Is that right?
They have. They sold out within minutes.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we're quite limited on space anyway in terms of the room that we have for traders. So we only do like about 10 tables for traders, and that includes a trader and a helper, and you can put a backdrop up and things like that. But yeah, they sold out within literally about 10 minutes, probably less than 10 minutes this year.
Wow.
So yeah, got plenty of traders coming this year, which would be good.
Good stuff. Excellent. Now let's run through some of the guests. I've got a little list of people I wanted to pick out. First up, Hunt Emerson. Is it Hunt's first year with you?
It is, yeah. So he got in touch with me last year at the 10-year anniversary, just sort of saying he's trying to get back out on the convention circuit again. He reached out and said hi. But it was about a fortnight before the 10-year anniversary show, so we just literally didn't have the space. We couldn't fit him in at all. So, yeah, really, I reached out again, sort of got in contact with him September time and was like, okay, starting to book for next year's show. Do you fancy coming along? And he was well up for it. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to meeting Hunt. He's gonna be a good one.
He really is the forgotten guy of comics in the UK, I think, for me, because he's like an absolute underground legend. I think think people know about him enough. He did, for those that don't know, he did Lady Chatterley's Lovell and Firkin the Cat and stuff like that. But he's been about since the Oz days. The sort of late 60s, early 70s doing stuff. And I kind of think of him a little bit like a sort of not quite with the exclamation mark drama marks that you get with Crumb, but he's kind of like the English Crumb almost. He has
that very much that style, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's all over the underground press scene, and he still makes stuff now. I think he's done a Kickstarter for Calculus Cat and all this sort of thing.
I actually know him from 40 Times. He does the end comment.
Of course he does. Yeah, I forgot about that.
The only reason I knew the name. I was like, oh my God, I know you.
Yeah, he's been doing like one-page strips like that for years. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done some great. They should collect it because. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely.
I think he'll get on. He probably does know David Roach, but I think him and David Roach will get on House on Fire kind of thing with their backgrounds and their histories.
Yeah, I imagine David knows everyone, doesn't he? He's one of those sort of guys. I suggest. But some other names I picked out. So Alan Davis, classic, brilliant, friendly. Yeah. He's done a few of your events, though, hasn't he?
He hasn't. No, this is our first one.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, new name this year. Really pleased to get him along as well. So he cropped up. So we crowdsource a lot of our names. I'll literally put a shout out on the Facebook group page, sort of saying who is it you want to see this year, and I'll go and do a little bit of research. And Alan came up a few times, so dropped him a message and asked if he wanted to come along. So yeah, really pleased to have him along this year. It's going to be we're going to do a spotlight interview with him as well.
That'd be
think
great.
On one of the days. We'll probably have a good chat with him.
I mean, he's just been announced as the artist for the covers of the new Wolverine and Kitty Pryde series. He's still busy. And I know he did Enniskillen last year and went down an absolute storm at it. Yeah, people really loved him being there.
Love Enniskillen. Yeah, I'm gonna have to make a trip over there at some point.
Yeah, me too.
It's our sister convention.
It kind of is, isn't it? I see it like that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And he has done an event. He has done a comic convention at that hotel before. I can tell you that now for a fact because I saw him at the last Bristol Expo he was at.
Excellent. I think he is really looking forward to coming to Lawless as well. It's a good opportunity for him to catch up with some people he hasn't seen for a while. So, yeah, we're really looking forward to having him along.
Good stuff. So a couple of the regulars, you got Dan Cornwall. I'm a massive fan of Dan's. I think he's a great artist.
His work at the moment seems to get better every
Don't
year.
it just?
Like every single year, I come up and he's got another front cover out that's absolutely blown me out the water. It's the stuff that he's producing is amazing at the moment.
Yeah, he's really one of the best people they've taken on, I think, at 2000 AD in the last few years, undoubtedly.
He's going to be an absolute classic.
And you've got the big guns. So you've got Simon Bisley, Brian Bolland, John Wagner. You've got some real names there, haven't you?
Really pleased. Brian's actually going to both. I mean, John's been coming to the show since day one, so he's always welcome to come back every year. And I think Brian he's now sort of local to Bristol, and this is his local show now, so he's always up for coming to visit. So it's really, really cool that he's actually like a regular at Lawless now, and it's difficult because obviously we try and swap names in and out. So we want our regulars that are going to be there, the sort of the alumni, but also we want to get some new faces in that we haven't had before. And then we want to get the younger faces, the sort of next generation. So trying to balance that out between people who've come before, people who are coming back again, like maybe they haven't been in a couple of years' time, and getting brand new faces in as well is always a hard balance. But I think, Brian's going to be on our listing now for the foreseeable. He's always welcome to come back to the show.
Yeah, he's great. I feel your pain around that, and that is one of the reasons I've never got involved in organising. Because if you're doing a regular convention, you kind of have to let people down easily, don't you? About not this year. There's a bit of that going on, isn't there?
And because we're never going to be like a giant warehouse full of tables kind of thing with thousands and thousands of queues. We're limited on space and table space and stuff like that. Yeah, there is definitely a picking and choosing element of, right, you came last year, so I'm not going to invite you again this year, but maybe, and that's why, I mean, Bisley's back. So Bisley came a couple of years back, and he's been doing shows in America for the last few years. So
I saw him at Heroes last year, Heroes in Charlotte. Yeah.
So really pleased to get him back, because he's always a great laugh to have around.
And you got Glenn Fabry as well. I know they're a bit of a double act often, aren't they? They sit next to each other.
Yeah. I'm hoping they'll kind of look after each other this year.
Or encourage each other. There is a bad side to that corn, isn't there? Yeah. And a couple we've talked about as well. Now we've had a sly little chat on the DMs. Is about Doug Braithwaite's there, and I really like Doug's work. I think he's really good, underappreciated in many ways.
Very much so, yeah. So again, new names that we've not had along to the show before. Ali Fell is another one as well that I'm really looking forward to meet, because his art's gorgeous, and it's proper like it's the kind of classic art I remember from like Bunty back in the day.
I was going to say Misty, like so yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
Really, really like Ali's stuff. So
yeah, really on the he's on up and comer. I see Ali as well, a dude, by the way, so it's not a short for Alison. That's what I thought.
Which is what I assumed initially until I saw the photo. I was like, oh crap, okay.
I was the same. Yeah. And let's throw one more name in. Who are we going to choose? Let's say Steve McManus is down. So I guess he's with the 77 crowd, is he?
He is, yeah. But
cool.
We're going to get the main listing, because we're going to do a proper spotlight interview with him and get him chatting about being an editor for 2000 AD. And as Mr. Tharg himself, he's always got some good stories. So always great to see Steve and have him along on the show.
Yeah, he's quite a raconteur, isn't he? I think.
Definitely, yes. Yeah.
Good. And so, are you kind of co-sponsored by the 77? Because I know they have a hand in helping out, and is that right?
So the 77 sort of formed all their kind of fledgling ideas, really. They got to know each other at Lawless, and off the back did their own Kickstarter and everything that was hugely successful, and they've been going for years now with, I think, doing really successful publications and stuff like that. So they've got this comic as Haunted and LOLs and all sorts coming out.
Oh, cool.
So I dropped Ben a message a few years back going, let's get you along as a sponsor, and we'll do something along those lines. And now it's kind of a mutual agreement now. So they do our program for us, which is fantastic. So in exchange for sort of the primary slot they get in the main guest room with everybody, and sponsoring the show, then I get them to they come and do the program for us, and Steve Bull puts that together. So each panel and the front cover is created by a different artist. So he'll write the story, which is always a Lawless character themed story.
Right.
And then he reaches out to each of the artists to create a specific panel for it, and he puts it all together and prints it all for us with the program inside. That's
nice work. Oh, that is good. Yeah. And it's always nice to come away from a festival or a convention with something like that, I think.
Do like my goodies, I got to give them goodies. There's plenty of art. You can always pick up loads of prints and art and stuff at Lawless.
Yeah, I have done. Yeah, and there's always some in the raffle. I think I won a Dan Cornwall one last year.
Nice.
In the raffle, yeah, very nice. So you say you're about to get the program printed. So I guess you have an idea of what the panels are going to be. Did you want to tease a couple or?
So let's see what we've got. So we got the draw off, which is our we're really, really pleased to be able to do again this year. We're going to spotlight interview Dave Kendall and Alan Davis. We quite often have, previous years we've managed to do an art exhibition. So we'd obviously did the Carlos Esguerra one in
So you did the Steve Dillon one last year, was that right?
We did the Steve Dillon a couple of years ago, but they've got sort of a more permanent fixture for the next 6 months at a museum, so they couldn't come back this year. So we were trying to get together an exhibition for this year, but it didn't really come together logistically through varying reasons. So the exhibition room is a smaller room at the two, and we're going to do a second panel room.
Oh, okay.
But we're doing sort of ISO cubes, so we're going to do like individual one-on-one interviews in an ISO cube. So the audience can sort of have a little bit more time asking a creator questions rather than the quick 10 minutes just at their desk kind of thing. So the second panel room is for your ISO cubes, and our first panel room is going to be for your big panels with your collections of guests. So what have we got? We got a good writing one. So Stacey Whittle is going to be discussing comics writing.
Oh, cool.
Our ones, and we're going to be speaking to some of our bigger names, as sort of more historic names as well, about their influences, and having them sort of talk to us about who influenced them and their work over the years.
There's nothing an artist or a writer likes, especially artists, I think, than talk about their influences. I think it's always one we talk about on here. It always gets
really
people going. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, oh, that sounds great, mate. And lastly, before I let you go, to continue sorting out merch, you got the Noble Bolt 01 Awards. Did you want to explain what that was?
Yeah, so the Noble Bolt Award was created really to honour the memories of some of our previous supporters. Dave Evans, who used to from Czar Jazz, who used to do our programme for us. Colin Noble and Richmond Clements, both two are sort of staunch supporters of the show for many years and big 2000 AD fans and big influences within sort of the comics community across the board. And they're sort of friends to many of us, and they've been hugely supportive of our convention over the years. And when they passed, we wanted to do something to honour their memory. So we do something where you can nominate a chosen person to come to the show, and we'll pick out of the nominations, we'll pick one person and pay for their transport, accommodation, tickets to come to the show. We'll just however it takes. We'll get.
So somebody who couldn't normally afford it, sort of thing. Is that the idea?
Essentially, yeah. If you can't afford it, or you've got care issues where you're caring for family, or they're caring for you, or something like that.
Oh, nice.
And whatever the reason, if they deserve it just because they've had a really tough time of it in the last 12 months, and you want to get them to the show to see all their mates they haven't seen in the last year, that kind of thing. So whatever the reason, email us and give us the reason why you want to nominate that particular person. We collated all the nominations back in December. And we announced the winner back in December. So this year's Noble Bolt Award goes to, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of his surname, so I really should find out how to pronounce his surname. It's Charlie Zikaz. Is the nominee this year. So yeah, he's going to come to the show this year. We're paying for his transport and accommodation.
Oh, no, great. Yeah.
And he's going to come and meet everybody and see a lot of online friends, I think, that he's never met before, which is going to be awesome.
Do you know 2000 AD fans, of which I consider myself one, are cracking people. They may drink a lot and occasionally be slightly reactionary to what goes on in the prog, but they got hearts of gold, haven't they? Let's face it.
Absolutely,
they really have.
Yeah. One thing I love about Lawless is just the massive community it is. Like, everybody will come to the show. You can come to the show for the first time and never not knowing anybody, and come and you've made friends for life out of it. It's just it's a really, really good atmosphere for doing things like that.
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. Yeah, 100%. I've been to it a number of times and I agree. Before I let you go, Sue, did you want to give out the website and any socials that you want to give out for it?
Yeah, so come and join us on the Facebook group, Lawless Comic Con, a celebration of British comics. That's where most of the updates go on and where a lot of the chat happens. And you can meet and greet friends and make arrangements on that site as well. It's a really good little community group page. Tickets available on lawlesscomiccon.co.uk. We've also got t-shirts available. So we're pre-ordering t-shirts this year, so you can buy them now and pick them up at the show itself. So pre-orders end on the 1st of May, and then I'm going to put in a big order and bring them to the show on the day. So
that t-shirt thing, we've tried it. It's a nightmare. Because you'll end up with like 400 very smalls or something, There's not many 2000 AD, ale drinkers who are smalls. I'll be honest with you, but there's the odd one. You know.
We do have a few left over from last year, so they are coming to the show as well. So there may be a few random sizes if you want to pick one up at the show. But pre-orders for this year's T-shirt are available if you want to go over to the website, lawlesscomiccon.co.uk, and tickets are available now.
Brilliant. Thanks, mate.
Thank you ever so much for having me. It's good to speak to you.
Our pleasure.
You all right, Dan?
Yes. I can't sit down after that, Vince, you bastard.
You two went for it, didn't you? I was watching it.
Yeah. But you actually carried on regardless, Tony. It was very, very well done. That
Yeah, professional.
Yeah.
Even with that look on Dan's face at that one point.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, held it together.
I've got warm hands.
Let's keep eye contact.
I've got warm hands. So all I've got to say.
That's what doing a podcast for 10 years will do for you.
Yep. I think no. Every time I think about saying a joke now, usually after that kind of layup, I need to question it, because there's been moments when I've said things, and when Tony goes, bloody hell, I didn't expect you to say that, I realise I've gone too far. So 2025 is the year of setting boundaries.
We've got no seatbelts on. That's our problem.
No, yeah, that's the problem. This is a show without seatbelts. But yes, Lawless, make sure you get tickets for that and check that out. And is he showing us his arse?
No, not again. He's done that on purpose. Fucking hell, Dan. Why do I have to stare at the crap
I
in
just
your
saw.
arse? He does it again.
I saw
He's
both
doing
of
it
them.
again.
I saw both of them.
It's like two VW.
I thought you hadn't seen enough during the fucking the break.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
Don't mute and then do that, Dan. Don't just mute and then turn around like that.
Dan
Show
muted
my
and
arse.
then he bent over showing us. It looks like he's got two VW Beetles stuffed down the back of his trousers.
Like Telly Savalas and Kojak having a fight on the sack.
I thought Right Said Fred had reunited. Oh
Right.
dear. But yes, Lawless, have you got any other shout outs, Dan, or was that the final one?
No, that was the final one. I thought I'd do a bit of showmanship at the last one.
Oh, you certainly did a bit of showmanship then, because you showed us more than.
I'll never be more aroused.
Wow. What can we do with this sort of energy? I tell you what, let's recommend some comics to you lovely people to go into your weeks ahead. Tony, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'm going to kick us off with this. Probably one of my favourite reads of the year so far. Paranoid Gardens from Dark Horse.
I tell you what, it's interesting that we're just about to hit May. We're almost halfway through the year, but it still feels like the year's just started.
It does, doesn't it?
Oh, totally.
And
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Dan. Tony's been having a bit of a barnstormer in terms of what he's been reading.
Yeah,
Keep
he's
saying
getting
it's the
some
best thing I've read so
bangers.
far.
Yeah.
I keep saying it, don't I?
Yeah. Your end of year list is probably going to be a nightmare to
looking
cut
good.
down.
Yeah, I keep a little notebook on me, and the inside front cover is always books that have hit the sort of 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
But this is one of them. I'm kind of ashamed of myself for not buying this off the shelf. And I was just speaking to Sue off mic earlier, and she was saying she bought this in issues and she loved it. And I've only just got the trade, so I only read it this morning. So, I mean, we've talked about that before, haven't we? About how we didn't spot things. This is a Dark Horse comic. I should have spotted this. The creative team on it are Gerard Way and Sean Simon. So there's, already like they're selling bucket loads of comics, aren't they?
Yeah.
Chris Weston, Dave Stewart on colours. So the Hellboy Dave Stewart on colours, and Nate Pecos on letters from Blambot. So you could not get a more professional team.
No,
Could
yeah,
see,
good,
like a nice, interesting team of people. We talked last week a little bit about reliving the glory days, the nostalgia days of trying to reclaim the books of our teens and 20s that really hit home for us. And for me, this is another one, because this is, for me, peak 1996, 1997 Vertigo. This would have been the best Vertigo book that came out that year. And that's saying something sometimes. It's got a little bit of the Grant Morrison Doom Patrol kind of vibe about it, a little bit of the filth, but then it's because it's Western as well. And I know that Gerard Way is a mate of Morrison's, isn't he? I think when there was Morrison Con, he had that convention where it was only so many hundred people or something at a hotel in Vegas. I know Gerard Way was at that. I don't think Chris Weston has been better sequentially than in this book. He's been grander. So, I remember at the 40th, talk about that again. We looked at some of his art, didn't we? Was it me and you, V? I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We looked at some of Chris's art.
Well, yeah, Weston's work. If you see him at a show, just look through his portfolio. You'll be there for a good half an hour.
Yeah. Well, maybe it was London Super Comic Con, because we went for a pizza with him afterwards. You remember?
It wasn't. Was it the 40th?
It was the 40th, was it? Right. Yeah.
40th,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, he's been broader. There's been more detail on the page, but for this, for a sequential point of view, I think this is probably my favourite work of his.
Wow.
The cover, as I showed you earlier, die cut, which is just brilliant. So this is
great.
the cover for the trade. The main character is called Lou. She's surrounded by sort of encroaching foliage, and she looks like she's losing her mind. She's at her wit's end. She's confused, scared. But then as you turn the page, that bit is cut out, and inside she's actually in what looks like a hospital with a person being pushed by on a strapped to a bed, almost like a Prime. The Malibu Universe guy, Prime.
Yeah, used to love
It
it.
looks a bit like that sort of Superman tropey kind of thing. So the story is Lou, aka Louise. Well, if you read the back matter, she's designed after Chris's daughter, and he talks quite interestingly about that, but not trying to make her too smart, not too trendy, but not like not sort of homely, but just like everyday person. And she finds herself working at a nursing home, and the staff and patients are a mix of human and what just visually look like some kind of mutant or alien. But the thing is about the way it's written and the way it's runs is no one says, "Oh, look at your weird head," or are you from space, or there's none of that goes on. It's just massively accepted that there's this mixture of patients and staff who are from both human and sort of alien-y kind of monsterish kind of thing, and it gives it a really weird feel. You also discover fairly quickly on, as soon as you read it, is that the home itself, there is an origin story. I think it's issue 3, as you go through the trade. The home itself is organic. So sometimes they'll take a board off a wall and there'll be like flesh and veins and stuff behind the board. So you can see it has that Doom Patrol thing going on. There's definitely that going on. In fact, the grounds themselves, the grass outside and stuff like that, is almost conscious and is doing things. And at various stages in it, people aren't allowed into the premises and they're not allowed onto the grounds. And this building and the ground around it doesn't allow it. So it's a person, or it's a being, the hospital. And Lou, she's a kind of like an orderly nurse kind of character, but she's also, you discover this, but spoilers, she's also a patient. And because she has no memory of her background. Throw into that, there's loads more weirdness going on than that. Throw into that, there's a weird cartoon head. Do you remember the TV series Ideal with Johnny Vegas?
Yeah.
Do you remember Cartoon Head? The villain in it, the sort of nasty drug dealer, and he had like a cartoon mask glued to his face.
Yeah.
There's like characters like that. They have like this thing called Cheeky Monkey, which is this cartoon monkey's head, but they're wearing like monks' robes, and they're part of this one of these sort of churches that, like these mega churches in America that try and make money. They're like a cult, but they try and make money and all this sort of thing. And they're trying to take it over. And there's this villain in it who's one of the doctors who's playing both sides, and he's sort of trying to corrupt some of the staff. And I mean, you could say like that is all a mess. It just sounds like so much going on. I mean, it's classic Vertigo to me. But it is bonkers. But it's bonkers it's got that sort of weird Vertigo logic, that weird Alan Moore, Grant Morrison, Peter Milligan logic to it, which I just absolutely loved. I thought it was brilliant. And you do get an origin and you get an ending to it. And the trade came out this week, and it is absolutely criminally underappreciated. Weston is that kind of artist that every page turn astounds you. People should be talking about this book. I genuinely do not know who these people are who wrote the reviews. I just don't understand what they're doing, unless it's some kind of AI things. One person said the artwork is distinct and memorable. The fuck does that even mean? Someone said lovely and odd. I mean, seriously, just get fucked. Do you know what I mean? Lovely and odd. Who writes that in a sentence? Fresh and intriguing. I mean, is this like AI or something? I don't understand. Who writes that sort of thing? Weston draws everything carefully. Fucking carefully. Who writes that in a review? What is up with
Very
you?
intriguing.
Yeah, intriguing.
Very intriguing.
Yeah. Delicate. Honestly. But yeah, this is the book. This is the book of the week in the comic shops. If you were a wise person like me and bought it in the issues, well done. I have since ordered them off eBay. Single issues just for the covers. There was a couple of sort of variant covers as well along it, but absolutely brilliant. Paranoid Gardens. Go get yourself a copy.
Do you think that'll kind of the release of the trade might increase the price of the single issues?
I don't know whether that's a thing these days. Maybe.
No.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, maybe.
Is that kind of a big? Is that kind of died? I'm a bit out of that scene. The old kind of price of issues going up and down due to kind of, singles. Is it still a thing? Or...
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. You still see things that come and go. Yeah. Yeah, some things you'll go, why is that so expensive? And then you realise, it's the third appearance of such and such, or so that sort of thing. Yeah, yeah. Good.
Nice.
Who's next?
Nice. I'm just going to jump in quickly. I'm going to do this honourable sort of mention before Dan takes over for his. We spoke about I finally got my hands on like the adaptation of Alien, Archie Goodwin.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
and Walt Simonsen. Picked up for cheap from a Forbidden Planet. Read it that night. Absolutely loved it. And I know I think we briefly spoke about it on the show last week. And there was something that you guys said that sort of echoed in my head a little bit, and it felt like when we were talking about it, you were talking about it like it was quite a long book.
No, it's not that long, is it?
No. And that sort of made me sort of go back, I sort of revisited it on its own. I didn't Google it, I didn't do any of that. I just sort of looked at it and tried to decipher, should it have been longer? And it wasn't. It's one of the most perfect movie adaptations in quite some time. But for me, and I'm a Batman '89 dude as well. That's the other one. It's on the Mount Rushmore. But I love it. It feels like a lot of it, about 60% of it, is all character stuff. The wonderful character stuff that we know from the film. So you get to know these people, and when it all kicks off, it's a matter of pages. It's almost like that.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to sort of look at that and think about that film. You can stretch out these these moments of atmosphere and terror and dread. Like a haunted house or things like that. But in a comic book, it's always kind of got to be there, bang, 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 a lot of the time, or very much that's the shorthand, especially in the era when this came out. That was very much,
shows the difference between the mediums in many ways.
Yeah. And I think for me, I will say I love this book. If you're an artist as well and you haven't seen this, because like me, you might be someone who's not really fussed about movie adaptations normally. It's got to be pretty special. This one was on the bucket list because so many people were talking about how it's a little bit different from all the others. Just from an artwork perspective, it's just beautiful. From the moment I opened it and the word alien, the masthead, was wonderfully sort of.
What did you think about the box bit? Remember we talked about it last week, where like the alien folds up into like a box shape. That's in the comic.
Yeah, there are some strange moments, and the way that like the narration over the top of it, Goodwin's done some of this narration that I think in this day and age that there just wouldn't be that because the artwork would be doing.
I enjoy the purity of those early ones because it's before we got all the there was only one Alien movie. In my head, there's only really two.
Yeah.
I couldn't give a fuck about the other ones really.
Yeah.
And I like the sort of purity of it all. And then we got like various messings about with it from now on, and yeah.
And I know, like obviously the Dark Horse, and Dan, you talked about the Compendium, the Dark Horse one that you read that time.
Yes.
Aliens is definitely one that there's only a few comics that have nailed that sort of the timing and the atmosphere of the aliens, because the beauty of it is you don't see it. It was an interesting as a comic reader, it was an interesting experience for me after the fact. Why it comes with the highest of recommendations is when I read it and I just blitzed through it, I was just a happy as Larry comic book reader, and it's just a really great book. Against all odds, there's the stories of what they saw and all of that stuff. You don't need
No.
I read it and I was like, this is the story I know, told beautifully in a different kind of way.
And it was quite rare to find it. It wasn't easy to find for a long time until they brought it out, which is one of the other reasons.
And the one I've got is like just the paperback reprint.
Same,
which is slightly oversized, isn't it? I think it's not comic book size.
It's more sort of because it was originally heavy metal, wasn't it? Metal Hurlant, so it's magazine size.
Yeah.
It is interesting, like just reading it and seeing the choices the creators have made to make that translation from the film to the book. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, they decided to do it that way, and it is very much a comic book. It's
Yeah.
not like a comic trying to be a film. It's
as
it's
it
a
should
great
be.
adaptation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to give that an honourable mention because, like,
Yeah.
I think everyone else has talked about it in a certain way, and I wanted to be the last one to scratch it off the list. That, that is one
Job
worth
done.
checking out, and you can pick it up for under a tenner now.
Yeah.
So that's just brilliant. But Dan, what did you want to talk about?
I got a book through that I backed on Kickstarter. I've been going around. I do try and buy loads, small press books, like digitally off of like various groups I'm in. I've got to say the hit ratio is low. It's low.
At the moment.
Generally, like I'll buy like 4 or 5 books and maybe one might be.
Perhaps this is a
up to
discussion for a longer episode.
Yeah.
Then. Yeah.
Well, if
Interesting.
only we had a month. Coming up, then
we
could-
need we need a month. Don't we? Yeah.
But I backed this one purely on the artwork alone. I like the look of it, and I was like, I'm going to give this a go. And seeing that we've been talking superheroes, it's Haven 1, a superhero noir story, a gritty take on superheroes that doesn't pull any punches with an emphasis on detective noir. Not sure if that holds true, but we'll see. Haven is set in a world with no alien babies landing in wheat fields, no chemical reactions granting super speed. Instead, people affected by human mutation granting them powers. These are called enhanced. Rook City is a cesspool where crime and corruption run rampant. Detective Brightly brings in Haven and Inferno, the aftermath of their fight with burned down apartment complex and 5. What starts out as an interrogation of Haven turns to much more. So yeah, it starts off with the Haven superhero character battling this Inferno chap. It all kind of goes wrong. An apartment building's blown up, and the bad guy and the good guy Haven are arrested and brought into the police holding cells. It kind of goes wrong from there as kind of crowds go outside, start protesting the fact that you've got these kind of essentially these mass murderers that have allowed this to go on, and Haven's kind of lectured to by the police officer. You get flashbacks that he is kind of like almost like a Batman style superhero that's turned his back on it after going through something similar where his action or lack of action has caused death of innocents, and now he's kind of like just become a police like one of the top police guys in this precinct, and trying to sort of tell this Haven guy, look, all this stuff you do has actions, and like his officers are serving, trying to do the best, and you're kind of running around there doing whatever, and this is what happens. The bad guy kind of kicks off again, and the police guy and Haven sort of tackle him, and from then on he becomes like the police detective takes Haven away, and it's sort of set up for them where he's going to try and fashion him into a bit of a better hero. But he's got like you get flashbacks of like a Batman Jason Todd thing going on, where his like mentee has been killed like in the line of duty. It was a great read, real fun. The artwork is, if I was going to be lazy, Vatican City, like that, but better.
Right.
It's more polished and more solid. Some of the elements I didn't like about Vatican City, everything seemed a bit too fluid, and I was like, I'm getting hard to define where this is. This is more like what I'd love it to look like. There's a lot more kind of character definition. It's definitely more kind of manga inspired, where there's quite a lot. I know you're not a mad fan of them, T, like a lot of lens flares and effects going on in the background, where rather than draw like a background of a city at night with cars and street lights, there's like darkness with like blotches of light and color, which there is a name for, and my artistic brain is struggling to what that fucking effect is. You know, when you're painting with light on dark background to suggest
chiaroscuro.
That shouldn't have doubted T that I didn't, and he came up with the goods. So yeah, interesting. Wouldn't mind seeing where this goes. There's a lot of kind of subplot and subtext going on. I'm not sure why they said it's a detective noir, because there's no detective stuff in it, and it's not really noir. It's kind of more of a straight superhero slugfest with a good setup and premise. And I'm gonna not be an absolute arsehole and give you the names of the creators because I were remiss and didn't do that. Haven one, writer and created by Braden Villora, pencils, inks, and colours by Leonardo Utin, Amal Desai on the lettering. We've got Glenderson Ribeiro on variant cover pencils and inks, and Daniel Karamanakigo on the variant colour covers. I'm sorry if I've butchered your names there, but that's kind of what I do. Which I'm shit at it, and I try my best. But do go check it out. I'm not sure where you can pick up copies, but if you check out Haven One Superhero Noir Story on Kickstarter, I'm sure they'll find you a good place to go from there. So
nice.
Good stuff, man.
Nice. My second one, which is almost a truncated one, because I'm jumping back on to talk about something I talked about a month or so ago, I think. I read in its entirety, I was speaking about the series recently, The Moon is Following Us. And the collection has just been released for volume 1 of this by Riley Rossmo and Daniel Warren Johnson, both collaborating on this wonderful tale. Two creators that absolutely smash it visually, but they will absolutely pull on your heartstrings as well. For those who maybe you didn't know last time, The Moon is Following Us is about Sam and Duncan Lamar love their 6-year-old daughter Penny more than anything in the whole world, but half a year ago she was taken by the Cascade, an evil force they barely understand. Now Sam and Duncan must fight side by side with the magical beings Penny cherished to try and get her back before she's gone forever. I mean, that's a very simple... I mean, that sort of says it all in a nutshell. But this is a big, epic, part fantasy, part sci-fi, part... I mean, sci-fi... Sometimes when we think of sci-fi, we think of space, all of that kind of stuff. But it's just science fiction, isn't it? And this is mixing a bit of... I mean, they're teaming up with imaginary... the toys that their daughter had... because she's like in a permanent coma, so they have to venture into the dreams because something has got hold of their daughter. It's very heartfelt. The action is just non-stop. It's interesting, the way they do the art duties is Daniel Warren Johnson does the real world bits, which is usually when you see what the parents... because you see the cover and you see like almost like a female like action figure Valkyrie with like huge horns and almost like a space marine sort of man.
Nice.
But then, I mean, that's what they are in this imaginary world, and then they're just a normal couple who are just going through.
I wonder what that was all about.
Yeah, they're going through this traumatic sort of like their daughter just won't wake up. Which would be horrific in the real world anyway. But then they mix in this wonderful sort of something that only comic books can do. Do you know what I mean? It really. I mean, I love these sort of creators that sort of take this medium and just be like, yeah, this is $1 billion budget that we can do because we can do anything because it's comic books.
Man, that's the power of comics, isn't it?
Comic books can do anything. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You've got like one of the main characters is a frog, like Commando. He's got like an eye patch. It's not full of loads of swearing and stuff like that because those sort of characters didn't. And there was a reveal that the frog was a toy that the daughter had when she was a little kid, and she accidentally dropped it out of a car and it got ran over and it was just left behind. But in this world, she was always fond of it, and it's always like, I know it wasn't her fault and I've always loved her, that kind of thing. So there's brilliant action, heartbreak. I mean, it's a Warren Johnson, so characters... No, there's almost an element of no one is safe, but
that's good.
But in a good way rather than God, I don't want to get attached to anyone. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a real balance that could be made with that sort of stuff. Because if you do it all the time, then what's the point of caring about anyone? But if you do it enough, then that means there's got stakes, and it is a world that, with stakes, and the major stakes are like these parents want to save their daughter. Like I say, I think this is going to be a 2-volume series. The first volume is 1 to 5, I think, or is it 1 to 6? No, it's 1 to 5 because the entire series is going to be 10 issues. The usual Image format, I think. They release, we know there's probably going to be 2 volumes, and then they'll probably do a deluxe edition, won't they? They'll probably do a big collection.
Bang them into one.
AKA Radiant Black.
Yeah. So, it's well worth your time if you just want to see a comic book with just imagination and energy. and you can't underestimate. I mean, I one of the things that you can always say about Darren Warren Johnson is every time you think you know what he's doing, and then he'll just
busy as well. He's doing so much.
Yeah.
I don't know how he keeps up with it, man. He must be working 24/7.
Yeah, knows what he's doing. And also Rossmo as well, immensely busy. He's been plugging away for years as well. I think that's a creator that doesn't get enough attention. Or perhaps he does. I'm not on the internet all the time. Because he recently did Martian Manhunter. Is that the one you guys were talking about?
That's not him, is it? Is someone? Oh, is that the other one, the previous one?
I think
he's not on the current one. That's Rodriguez, isn't it?
Yeah. He did the other, which
that's been extended.
Really?
Absolute Martian Manhunter. Yeah, because it's doing so well.
Oh wow,
that's good. They're on fire most of those titles, aren't they?
Yeah, perhaps we'll come back to those titles. But what you should come back to is The Moon Is Following Us. If it's the one that's gone under your radar, check it out. It's brilliant. You'll love it.
Nice one.
Tony, take us home.
Before I do, quick shout out to someone mentioned it, and we should have mentioned it. Well done to Aaron Rackley, who hopefully by now has finished the marathon. Yeah. Well done, son. Yeah. My next one is Hipster Killer. When he comes to town, hipster's going down. That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't really know much about the creators on this. It's described as a Lapusan and Rodriguez production, black and white. I read it in Global Comics. It is published by Black Ink Comics, or put out by them, who are on fire at the moment. Takes place in New York City, and starts in a company boardroom. The head of the organisation is an old dude with sort of crazy hair. He's telling his board that a great evil has entered the city, hipsters. This is right up my street, you can tell. They've taken over areas and even certain subway lines. There's a lot more love for yogurt, or as they say in America, yogurt. I've never had, still have never had frozen yogurt. The old man says he's found someone who hates them as much as he does. And he introduced, through the big double doors comes Pluto, codename Hipster Killer. He looks like he's in a 90s heavy metal hair band. Or in a biker gang, or that sort of thing.
Excellent. Yeah.
He's got a shark tooth necklace, the sign of class, always. Yeah. And he's an ex-mercenary, and he decides he wants to kill all hipsters. So that's what he does. There's no nuance in this book, thankfully. He just goes to a bar where they're all wandering around drinking pale ales, I'm sure, and he just machine guns everyone. He kills everyone who's got a weird moustache or weird sunglasses or facial piercings or shit in their face or whatever these things these kids do. And then he goes to a riverside festival in Williamsburg, and this causes a hipster exodus from the city, and they all cheer. And it's brilliant. So he goes back to living in the snowbound woods, killing Wendigos, and he gets called on for another job at the end of this. Just a quick fun read. I read it on Global Comics. It's just stupid, brilliantly stupid. Really nice style of artwork, actually. Very solid black and white. It's almost like an etching kind of thing, but full of personality. And whoever's drawing it, I don't know who these people are. Brilliantly done. Really loved that. It's really original, kind of the way to do it. Black Ink Comics put it on there. But it's all a bit of a mystery to me who did it. But I'm sure Leslie or someone will reach out to me and tell me. But that's my second one. Hipster Killer. There you go. It's a quick one.
That sounds great.
Nice. Yeah. We like a bit of mystery in comics sometimes, don't we? You know, in this cult of personality.
We don't need to know all these people, do we?
We don't need to. In fact, I prefer it when I just, I try to find comics that I know nothing about. Just think,
I don't
that's
need to know
quite
anything
cool.
about their theories on trickle-down economics.
Yeah, man, you used to just have comics and no kind of creator behind it. It was just...
Yeah.
Seems odd that those times now.
Yeah, I know. But, you creators out there, we love you. And if you're making indie comics...
If you're
making indie comics, we love you even more. Because they're better. There you go, said it. Come at me, internet. That's the second time I've goaded the
Amigo.
Yeah, I've goaded the internet one more time. What a red cape I have. And what a show it's been. And thank you for listening to us. If you have any topics or things you want to discuss, not just in May, but going forward, if there's any creators that we should know about, any books or comic book initiatives that you want the world to know a little bit more, please do get in touch. We'll always shout out about stuff, and if we like it or if we see it, then who knows who we'll be talking to on this show. It's one of the many things that's a joy about it. Apart from
We'll
these
talk to anyone.
these two lovely dulcet tones that I'm talking to every week. But yes, if there's anything you want us to talk about going forward, there's several different ways you can get in touch with us. You can email us awesomecomicspod@gmail.com. Social media @awesomecomicspod on Instagram, where we'll be posting out just images of like what we're talking
Dan's
about
bum.
on a weekly
Yeah.
basis. You won't get any
No,
Dan's
OnlyFans
bum.
only that.
Yeah, that's for only Dan's.
I screenshot it.
Nice. Send me that later, Tony.
Yeah.
We're also on X @TheAwesomePod. Thank you for listening to us, whether it's on the website awesomecomics.podbean.com. We're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can comment, leave reviews, helps get the word out about the show and everything we talk about on a weekly basis. We're also on Amazon, Stitcher, Podnose, Podknife. What are the networks we on, Tony?
We're on the Pod Network. Eggplant Parmesan.
Grow up, Dan.
So what are we eating tonight? Eggplant parmesan or dick cheese? No.
Jesus, we made it through almost the second.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We were so good for
That's
so
why
long.
guests come on.
It started off like in the
Those
mire.
kind of emoji stuff, my generation missed that. I didn't, it's kind of sending rude emoji stuff. It was just went for me.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. We just send it on our WhatsApp group to each other now.
Just send the actual pictures of it.
Pretty
What's the
awful.
point?
Oh God, yeah, you would, Dan. Let's not get started on your browser history again. But you can, if there's something you want in your browser history, then acpgear.redbubble.com.
Oh, yeah.
Put that in there. Grab a T-shirt. Grab a sticker. Grab a mug. I don't know what other items we've got available. Loads of different items. But check that out. And also,
Mouse mat.
yes, who doesn't love a mouse mat?
I've got
tell
a
you
mouse
what.
mat.
Oh, you've got a mouse mat. Has anyone else got a mouse mat? If you have, then get in touch with us and let us know. And we'll give you a shout out on the show.
Right, the usual channels, yeah. The
Yeah.
Mouse Mat.
The usual
Mouse Mat
channels.
month.
Yeah. Mouse mat, man.
Mouse mat month.
God, we haven't gotten to the bottom of the barrel just yet, Dan.
Read
It's
his
close.
mouse mats.
It's close. I can see the bottom. But where can people find us online, etc., Tony?
Never on Anything or Tony Ez on Substack.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh, by the way, the ACP's on Substack as well.
Oh, yeah. We're on. That's good as well on there.
Well, that's good. Is it good, Tony?
Well, good.
It's well
It's fucking
good.
well
Well,
good.
we've got links to the comics we talked about in the show, so you can
Yeah.
click it and take
Yeah,
it.
and images of it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. And obviously you can listen to the show there. We're going to be putting out a little bit more content. We've been throwing about ideas for stuff to
Yeah.
give more people value for money. What money? You get this for free. Where can people find you, Dan?
It's still free and they still feel ripped off. You can find me on vanguardcomic.com. There's only 2 pages left of this issue, and then I'll be pretty much on Patreon updating stuff as I go along for the Green Archer comic, trying to show you how I'm getting that done and
Nice.
a bit of behind the
Ribbed
scenes.
for your pleasure.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
Gonna be
he
top hole.
yeah.
It's an audio medium.
How
so
how
I'll
how
give
do you
a-
describe that what you just
the
did there?
circle finger.
The circle finger.
Don't
Circle
splay, don't
finger.
splay the fingers like that, because that's
Don't
another
splay
song.
the fingers when it's just the circle finger.
Yeah.
Okay. Isn't that what it's meant to
Okay.
be?
Yeah,
The OK
yeah.
sign, that's where, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why is it the OK sign? Because there's the O.
Because it's O and a K, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
It's a K there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like a KO if you think about it.
Yeah, a bit.
Okay.
We talk about the
One
interesting
thing,
and hot
listeners.
topics on this show, and if you want more quality content, you can find me on social media at Jesse Diablo. Thank you for listening, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Join us back next week, where, I mean, if you thought this was off the rails, you ain't seen nothing yet. Yeah,
Gonna get worse.
I mean, it's going to be a month of blooper reels. Basically, that's what it's going to be. So join us back then, and until then, wherever you are in the world, we hope you're happy, healthy, making comics, enjoying making the comics you make, and enjoying reading the comics, because we enjoy reading comics, and we hope you do too. Otherwise, it's just a waste of money, and no one wants to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, yeah. Well, I guess we'll see you next week. And
Yeah.
What else have they got to do, guys?
Stay awesome.
Stay awesome.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, best driver.